afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Football Park for the big one, the 1994 SANFL Grand Final between Port Adelaide and the Eagles. Well, the Eagles finished the home and away series on top of the league ladder. Port Adelaide in second position. They're the two best sides in the local competition this year. There's no doubting that. Neville Roberts has been there before in terms of grand finals. He's played in two for Nord. Good afternoon, Neville. Real special day, isn't it?
Well, it is a special day, particularly for the players, not only the crowd that are here, but the players, the coaches and the supporters. But for the players, it could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. One day they just have to perform. They have to be in control. And I guess the only phrase is death or glory. And for someone today, it will be glorious, obviously.
OK, well, I'm not sure whether the weather's going to be that glorious. Have a look at that. Expected maximum 15 degrees. I'm not sure it would be that at this stage. It is absolutely teeming at the moment. It is really raining heavily, and I wonder whether we're going to get a break from this.
Well, it's put a bit of a dowser on the pre-match entertainment, but more importantly, I think this is a real break for Port Adelaide, and I mean that sincerely. This morning I had a gut feeling about Port Adelaide that if they could take a bit of control, particularly over Nickel, Filippo and the on-ballers for the Eagles, they might be in with a real show because they will hit it hard, they'll be very aggressive, and that will be the obsession for Port Adelaide today. This weather will help them.
Well, the Eagles were long odds on favourites today. There's their locker room, and they are really pumped up at the moment. They're long odds on favourites, Neville. It's been a long time since Port Adelaide have been the underdog.
Yes, the Eagles today at 3's on. They started the year at 25 to 10. They've been there, have only been in the competition 4 years. Bruce Winter's taken them to their fourth grand final. They've already won 3, and they've got to be a real chance today. The favourites for this year's grand final.
OK, Bruce Winter was very relaxed during the week. Here he is speaking with David Mackay.
Bruce, a big 73-point win in the second semi-final must give you a lot of confidence going into the grand final.
Oh, it certainly does. We had that game against Port at Albert in which we got beaten by 83 points, but we analysed that. We came up with a more balanced side, players playing in positions that they were best suited to, and it was a good turnaround.
Your preparation hasn't been ideal. 2 games in 4 weeks is not perfect, is it?
Well, it's exactly the same preparation as last year's, and I saw nothing wrong with last year's preparation.
Now, you've named David Neiman at centre-half back. Surely he won't play there given the job that Mark Kennedy did on D. Smith during the second semi.
Well, it's unlikely. In fact, I made a mistake. I said name the team as we put it in last time, forgetting that we'd named Kennedy on half-back flank and David Neiman in ruck. I don't think Cahill's going to fall for that one.
Grand finals are different games. What's your instruction to the players before the start of today's match?
Well, it'll be the same as any other game, and that is it's all dependent on who's going to work hard enough to get numbers around the football, who's strong enough at the ball, and having made the commitment to get the ball, who's going to use it better.
OK, so let's have a look now as we've just heard from Bruce Winter. That's the Eagles lineup. A couple of changes, Neville. Kluzak in the centre.
Yes, well, it's probably an obvious one in some respects. They've got Chapman on the interchange. He'll supposedly start there. That's an obvious change anyway. Kluzak can play in defence. He can play forward. But the keys to their lineup today is that spine. Filippo at centre-half forward, Taylor and Nickel particularly. He kicked 5 against Port Adelaide in the second semi-final. He's a star for them.
Yes, and the bookends, as we call them, Spehr and Taylor, obviously keys as well. Well, the Port Adelaide locker room at the moment, well, there'd be just a little bit of anticipation there. There's no doubt about it. They've been there so many times before, Neville, but still very agonising.
Well, Port Adelaide have been there 56 times for 31 wins. Jack Cahill's been there 10 times as a coach for 8 wins, 10 as a player for 4 wins, and there's plenty of players in this particular Port Adelaide team that also know what this is all about. They'll be champing at the bit. They know that they've got to take it physically up to the Eagles if they're going to win this game today.
Well, John Cahill was a little nervous during the week. Here he is speaking with David Mackay.
John, a second semi-final defeat by 73 points. Not ideal facing the Eagles in a grand final.
No, but it's been turned around before, Dave. And we could say 2 weeks before that we won by 80 odd points. Doesn't really mean anything today. I mean, you talk to the Eagles players, that doesn't mean anything. We go out there, we're really confident. The last 6 weeks we've played finals teams in every game. I think we're very match hardened, and condition-wise we couldn't be any better. If there's any doubt, I would say the Eagles have played 3 games in 7 weeks. That leaves a bit of doubt.
You had a problem with Darren Smith on Mark Kennedy in the second semi-final.
Yes, we did. Kennedy played a very, very good game. He got away. Scott Hodges played very poor. That's probably the worst game I've seen all season from him. Since that, both players have been running the form against Central, so we'd expect a lot more from those 2 guys.
And grand finals, John, are different games, aren't they? How have you approached this one?
Totally different. The same as always, Dave. I get very nervous. We do our homework, make sure everything's right, but a grand final player is a better player. He's just learned to do things a tough way. Everything's a yard quicker. Everything you do on the ground for the whole 100 minutes is very important. can cost you a game. So very important.
You confident you'll win?
Yes, we are.
That was Jack Cahill, and there is the Eagles. They're out on the ground here. They've got an enormous roar. Up go the balloons, and the atmosphere is starting to build for the 1994 SANFL Grand Final.
Yes, and the Eagles they're an accomplished team, aren't they? They've won 19 out of their 23 starts this season, and they've done it all pretty well. They've kicked over 15 goals all but 6 times. They've got a prodigious forward line, and as I've said, I think it's their forward line that holds the key for them, and the defensive action from Port Adelaide, if they're going to win, has to come from the feed to that forward line. They have to stop the centre line from producing good, quick action. There's a beautiful view, a helicopter view, if you like, of Football Park. What a magnificent looking stadium.
Absolutely fantastic football park at the moment, not bathed in sunshine because we have had a fairly heavy shower. We hope that it will clear. Now the Eagles, Neville, interesting point here, they've only played one game during the finals. That was the second semi. Is that a big advantage?
Well, if you finish top of the ladder and you win your second semi, you play once in a month, and there's nothing wrong with that. They're an accomplished team. The rest does them good. They have a complement of players who have been there before. They're very confident in their ability. They will use the rest to advantage, and that in itself is their biggest advantage. From Port Adelaide's point of view, they've had to play 3 finals. They've come off some very hard football, and if anything gets them down today, whilst it is an advantage for them being wet, it will be the heavy legs.
All right, let's have a look at the head-to-head now. They played 4 times this year. I can see Port Adelaide once they're winning round 25.
You could, and if you were the Eagles coach, you'd say, have a look at that. And round 25, they arguably said we didn't really care about it too much. I don't make light of that, but Bruce Winter pulled off the reins. He says, if I was Jack Cahill, I'd just put a big cross for it and say, so what? It's a wet grand final on the 2nd of October, and if you want it bad enough, guys, it's there to take, and we can take it. Let's just do this, this and this. And I'm sure it'll be up to Jack today to coach them to this grand final, not just playing it.
What about the Zillas? How important are they, Neville?
Oh, they're an impeccable class, those 2 boys. They not only get the ball and carry it over a line, they put their hands down on the pack, they risk their body, they're aggressive, and they just keep maintaining a consistent endeavour all day long. And as I said before, I think it's those sorts of players, along with the Cluzaks and Camporelis, that they have to tie down and defend to stop the feed.
Okay, let's have a look at the Port Adelaide lineup now. That spine looks pretty good. You mentioned the spine for the Eagles, Neville. That looks pretty good as well.
It's good enough, isn't it? It is good enough to win. Williams is back in that side. Hodges has been controlled by Spehr and by Windsor in the respective finals. But he's due for a big one, and we know that if they can get the ball through, and that's where Malakellis and Borlays and Hutton and particularly Ginever are going to be his feed today. And I can tell you what, he'd be so primed up for this. He really wants it badly.
Any query on Hutton and North East fitness because of the fact that they played in the reserves all year?
There'd have to be, and but Hutton's form last week in the preliminary final was fantastic. North East came off the bench. He's a tough nut. He might have to have a bit of a rest during the day, but they've got McLeod and me. They've got a good defender, and they've got a goal kicker on the bench. They're beautifully balanced. Delaney's back in that side after a leg injury. Biaggi alongside him. They're the best of mates. They understand each other. They've got another tool back there to counter Nickel in Tyler. Watch for that place. That'll be an absolute beauty. And Carter's form's been fantastic. Rowan Smith's been a sensation, and Olsen's been a sensation. But he's going to be a Bobby Dazzler today, to quote Ian Day.
Can you remember in 1992, Chalmers kicking that goal from about 70 metres out? That was the last time Port won a flag. It's not all that far away. Far back, is it?
No, it's not. And Chalmers today, if you're talking about keys, he has to be a key, doesn't he? Either in defence or a leading ruckman taking marks, and maybe even an option up forward later.
All right, Neville, a man who has done that, has been there and done that, is Michael Ace, the 1981 Magarey medalist. Michael, what's the feeling like on the boundary line?
Well, it's pretty exciting at the moment, Mark. The conditions aren't all that good, as you can see, and very interesting to note the Eagles are out very early, so why that is, I don't know, just to adapt to the conditions, I would think.
Talked about Hodges, he's obviously so important to them, and I said that I think the players like Ginever, Malakellis, Borlays and so on through the centre to him will have to be on fire. They'll have to get clear to give him an opportunity.
Well, they will, and they've got good on ballers with Stephen Williams back in the fray, so they'll count on him very much so, along with Tim Ginever. But Scott Hodges, very important for them, and they should do pretty well as Port Adelaide coming onto the ground now.
Yes, thank you, Michael. I'm just not sure we could hear you right at the end there, but as you can hear by the roar, the mighty Magpies have come onto the ground and the banner has been destroyed, I guess, by the wet and the weather, and that is unfortunate.
Michael, just in relation to Port Adelaide's goal kick, I know we keep coming back to them. They are their underdogs, and whilst they have to defend well today, they still have to kick enough goals. We seem to have lost Michael Ace, but maybe to you, Mark. McLeod on the bench. They've got Olsen, and they've also got goal-kicking rovers. I mean, Malakellis and Ginever can both kick goals. The defensive action is important, but they also have got to kick the goals.
Oh, absolutely. They've done very well in that area this year. And you mentioned Malakellis. He's an exciting player, isn't he?
Yes, he's been a fantastic recruit from the Swans. He wanted to take Ron Barassi on because Barassi said he wasn't good enough for the AFL. He's proved this year he's certainly good enough for this competition, and I think he could make the transition. And he's been a very responsible player, defence and offensively, for the Magpies this season.
And what about young McLeod? What a moment for him.
Oh, it's a dream come true for any player. If you play in that club, Port Adelaide, this is just an annual event almost. But for him, it is a dream come true. He's obviously he probably idolised this team, and a lot of players in it as a youngster. He's there now on the bench. He will get a run, and he's so important to them if he fires.
There is the 1994 Magarey medalist Gary McIntosh and Neville Roberts. What a wonderful victory that was for him.
Yes, it was a popular victory because it's the first time I think I've been to a Magarey medal where all clubs raised as one and actually stood and applauded Macca. And given the number of times he's clipped a few of them around the head, it was a fantastic compliment to him. He's usually there in his famous red and blue jumper, but today he's here to be honoured as the finest and most brilliant player in the competition for 1994.
A real team man, isn't he? He's not an individualist at all.
No, he's not. He's prepared to sacrifice. His voice on the ground and around the ground is an enormous lift to his players. He's very disciplined. He's a great leader, and he's been rewarded with the ultimate medal.
Okay, so he's about to make the toss. The two skippers come across, Tim Ginever and Pete Schwarz, two wonderful players in the local competition. Up goes the coin. Let's wait for the call. The Eagles win the toss. Now, how important is that, Neville, in these conditions?
Well, there's not an enormous breeze here at Football Park. I think the element about the conditions is just the fact that it is wet underfoot. If there is any more rain, I think it will go to the advantage of Port Adelaide. And you can see by the windsock that not a significant breeze here at Footy Park.
We're probably 40 seconds away from the 1994 SANFL Grand Final. Neville Roberts, what's going through the minds of the coaches now, Jack and Bruce?
Oh, I think the adrenaline pumps so hard now that if you haven't said it, there's no more to say. They just want to steal each other, look each other in the eye and demand each other to perform for themselves and for the team. And the pressure is not to fail for the club, not to fail the coach, and certainly not to fail yourself.
Okay, the start of the 1994 SANFL Grand Final. To take up the call, it's a very good afternoon to David Mackay and Stephen Tree.
So the players have been in the huddle and they're just setting off for their positions at the moment. The sun has been shining and we've had some heavy showers for this big clash of the birds. Both have been predators throughout the year, but now they're head to head, and you'd expect a few ruffling of the feathers, albeit I must admit at the moment wet feathers. And David Mackay, how do you see it in terms of that wet deck at the moment?
I think a lot will depend on the Port Adelaide forward setup, how Darren Smith is able to overcome Mark Kennedy, and whether or not Scott Hodges can get amongst the goals, which he hasn't so far in this final series.
So the showers great. The first bounce of the 1994 Grand Final. Tim Pfeiffer's got it. And Richard Williams is his partner this afternoon. ABC Sport bringing you the 1994 Grand Final. Damp conditions, a huge roar from the crowd from the left of screen. It will be Chalmers. He gets up over the top of Neiman, who just lays it down. Loss of feet, and you can expect plenty of that early. Jason Ziller, first kick for the final. Away he goes towards half-forward flank on the far side. That ball skids towards the line. Fiacci, Wakeland, they'll look for the line. Walker finds it. And we'll have a boundary throw in far side, 20 seconds into the grand final.
The Eagles playing Stuart Nicol in a forward pocket. He's picked up by Mark Tyler. Now remember, it was Nicol that kicked 5 on Tyler in the second semi-final.
It'll be a magnificent clash, that one. Nicol and Tyler Pace caught by Hutton on the far side. And talking about clashes, that should be a beauty too. No real surprises in the lineup. Port Adelaide pretty much true to their season selections. This is the 1994 SANFL Grand Final. Williams gets one to Hutton, just back in the side, he puts it up. Hodges from far back, not there, beautifully taken though, front by Neiman. Wouldn't Bruce Winter love to see him perform in the wet?
Well, he's performed very well this year against Port Adelaide. He had his hands full in the second semi-final when Chalmers clearly won the tap-outs.
So Neiman with the rain belting down now, spoiled away in the centre. Morphett ran into a brick wall. A couple of Maggies couldn't do much with it. Camporelli, first grand final for him, hands it off towards Kluzek. Free running piece of movement in towards the 50-metre line. Taylor attacks the football. Not a bad piece of work either. Delaney's there. You can see the rain tumbling down. Off the ground it went from Taylor and across the line in the right forward pocket.
One Port Adelaide change. Spalding has gone to a half-forward flank. He was named in the centre. And Stephen Williams, with his doubtful hamstring, has lined up in the middle.
Probably a good move as well. Not as much territory to travel for Stephen. Well done by Delaney. They're a chance again, the Eagles. Second possession for Kluzek. Thumps it back up there with the left leg. Filippo. Tyler couldn't take it. You want to be good here, Roger, because you're under all sorts of pressure. Dives on the ball. Still there a chance for the Eagles. Morphett, he'd love to do something with it. Carter came in. I thought he might have taken Morphett high, but it's a neutral ball just 10 metres out from that Eagle goal. And you can see Bruce Winter, if he can pull this one off, it will be back-to-back premierships for him. Big pack of players in the goal square. Walker from the ground. Or was it Delaney's boot in the end? It didn't matter. Beautifully done reflex. Third kick to Kluzek. He got it from Pays. And well done by Tyler. He's got a big job this afternoon on Andrew Taylor.
Tyler's actually got the job on Nickel, but he was covering out to cover on that occasion.
So, no score so far as Zilla pushes the ball towards the goals. Fiachi's there, closing on him. There's Andrew. And with this weather, Fiachi must be feeling very comfortable, David.
He loves grand finals, Neville. He won the Jack Medal, remember, back in 1990. He played wonderfully well that day, and his finals form this year has been outstanding.
Pesh, ball up on play, and it's backward to the 50 for the Magpies. And Stephen Williams well and truly in defence. He chips short, and he's got northeast, socks down. This weather will suit him too, by the way, as they go through the centre of the ground. Neiman dives. Camporelli, too quick for Olsen, throws one forward. Beautiful hands, Rowan Smith. He sends it up over 50, getting back in underneath it. Freeborn, eyes for the footy, and does it pretty easily. He moves on quickly. He's got Spehr, left foot, centre wing. They go to ground. One hand, do you mind, Camporelli? Taylor out on a lead. He's got it! Slides and grabs it. The first mark, first chance for an Eagles score.
Well, he's had one big swag this year against Port Adelaide. He kicked 7 goals, 4 in round 6. He dominated that match, Taylor. And the Eagles forward line really revolves around him.
He knows how to kick goals. He'd love this one early in the piece. The umpire says, you're away, Andrew Taylor, and so are the Eagles. First play.
And he's a player who plays on confidence, Taylor. And he only got 1 point against Port Adelaide in the second semi-final. He was injured that day, and a lot of people thought that he mightn't come up today, but he clearly stretched full bore at that ball. And even though it was wet, he captured it and kicked a goal. He is a confidence player, and that will do him the world of good.
4.5 minutes into the grand final on ABC Sport. The rain is still coming down. For our country viewers, we hope you're getting some of this because we know that it's much needed out there at the moment. Ginever round the body. Towards the 50-metre line he goes. They need a big effort from him today. Spalding couldn't take it. Malakillis. Kennedy at centre-half back and a big job on Smith. Well done by Spehr. The short pass is short-circuited by a man named Rowan Smith. Thumps it back in towards the full forward line. Malakillis can't do much with it. Port Adelaide need a goal. They need to settle to the task very quickly. Williams snares it beautifully. He gets set upon very quickly, and he is not going anywhere.
And look at that tackle by Camporelli. There's nothing of him, the most inexperienced player out there. And he applies a terrific tackle on the oldest player on the field, Stephen Williams.
Neiman locking arms with Smith. A series of handballs, and away they come through Zilla towards centre wing. Now Northeast will charge at this football, and in the end takes it over the line. Some heavy work off the ball between Wakeland and Pesh. Another boundary throw in on grandstand side.
So what Port have been recognised for a generation in their fierce attack on the ball, the mantle's been stolen by the Eagles, and they're trying to pitch it back. Today wouldn't be a bad place to start. Good work, Tyler, Carter, Fiachi. They move it over the 50, through the centre, chips short, puts under pressure Hutton over the top pace. Beautiful hands.
Rowan Smith off the ball is trying to intimidate Camporelli. Camporelli's just running away from Rowan Smith.
Taylor on 50.
It beautifully put past. Now Brett Chalmers is dropping deep in defence, by the way. He's going to double team Nickel back there. They obviously feel that Tyler hasn't got the height to go with Nickel.
From 60 metres, he won't make the distance. They set themselves. Nickel, couple deep. Chance for Carter. Nickel, too high on Nickel. No free kick. Chance for Borlase. Quick hands. Morphett! Goal of the Eagles. Their second. What an impeccable start.
And Scotty Morphett knows how to kick goals. He led their club in their first 2 years. In 91, he kicked 99 goals. It was heartbreaking he didn't get the 100. Now, clearly here, Nickel's taken high by Ginever. That could have been a free kick. The smother came from Walker on Borlase. The ball ricocheted back to Morphett, and Morphett got it from Pesh. It was a good team goal.
12 points of difference, 7 minutes in, and the alarm bells already for Port Adelaide are ringing. They've had a tough lead into this. They've been up for 3 months. The Eagles have played 3 in 6 weeks, so they'll be fresh. Far side of the ground, Jason Ziller. Fiarchi, I thought it had gone over. It had. The whistle came late, and it'll be a boundary throw in right half forward for the Eagles. It's Greg Phillips, whose reserve side this afternoon were beaten by West Adelaide, the reserves premiers. So not a good start to the day for the Maggies. This is Stephen Ziller. He's got the run from Walker. Great work from him in the second semi-final. Puts it up towards the pressure zone. Delaney. Enough time just to put up the one hand and cool things down. It looked much better to have him back on the side. Well done, Rowan Smith at half-back. Takes a good mark, gets shoveled over the line and gets 25 metres.
Well, it was a good mark, but the kick was even better. The kick from Delaney just hit Rowan Smith in stride on the run.
201st game for him. And it's Darren Smith's. His namesake's 250th at centre-half forward. 40 metres, carried the drop punt. Hodges was spectacular over the top, couldn't take it. Schwartz comes back to the close side through Kluzak, who started beautifully. Camporelli, that's a function of a wet ball, still got it back. He was a little lucky. Sneaks it inside, finds Pesh at half-back. From the instep, it goes towards Filippo. This is Wakeland. Jason Ziller's also there, hands it off to his brother in Stephen. Ominous signs, the Eagles are into attack once again. In front went Tyler. Big pressure now, Filippo off the ground, just slid off the side of the boot. Here's a contest. Hutton pays, there another chance the Eagles. Round the body he goes. He can't quite pull it back far enough. So their first indiscretion, 2-1. Port Adelaide are yet to score.
Well, here's a goal-scoring wingman, Andrew Pays. He got 2 in the second semi-final. He really hurt Port Adelaide. Had a very good opportunity there. If he gets anywhere within 45 goals, he's normally fairly deadly.
So the Eagles, minor premiers, and a second semi over Port Adelaide straight in. The Magpies have gone through the qualifying second semi and preliminary. So they've had plenty of finals footy. Pays is just forward of centre wing, and he has the kick. 2-1-13 the Eagles. Port Adelaide yet to score. No breeze to really speak of. He punches it in high. He wants Taylor, Nickel, Neiman. They're pretty top heavy up there, but all of them very flexible on the ground as well. Camporelli, hands and knees, shovels one out. Pesh, clever as you like. Crab walk to the left. Short one to Ziller, and Morphett is good work. That was Jason Ziller. Smart work and used the ball beautifully.
Well, Ziller could have had a shot for goal there, but I think the confidence is pretty sky high, isn't it? You pinpoint a player with a wet ball from 15 metres away when you're trying to turn around the corner at full pace. Not a bad effort.
They've made a mockery of the wet conditions so far, the Eagles. Morphett, a full forward in his time. Not a worry at all with his first. The Eagles, a dream start, they're 3-1.
So Morphett gets his second.
Great start, isn't it, in terms of the structure. The Eagles sit back, they play a kick behind, and then they just set it up very nicely.
I think they do. The thing about Port Adelaide is that they're not running it out of defence like they often do. They switch direction, go to the outer side. Roger Delaney probably is the only player so far who's brought it out long from defence.
So Bruce Winter would be a little happier now, I'm sure. The butterflies would be subsiding. 3-1 to the Magpies, yet to score. If anything, the breeze is favouring the Eagles at the moment. Well done by Rodgers. Little stamp of pass. It's turned over though. Change of hands came to Williams. Now to the close side of the ground. Olsen is very good in the second semi as well. Freeborn paddles it along the ground. A little push in the back though, and Spalding's going to get it from 55 metres out.
The breeze will be facing him too. I don't think he can make the distance. You look for Hodges on a lead.
Well, he might look for Scotty, but it's very crowded up there at the moment. He's the best chance in amongst a whole lot of blue jumpers. Williams, and they paddle it through. So the Magpies are away. They get their first score on the board. It's still 18 points the difference, though. We're 11.5 minutes into the first term of the grand final, and the Eagles are in control.
Peter Schwartz was the player who just thumped it across the line. He's an outstanding skipper. You talk about a leader's leader. He really holds this Eagle back line together, along with Andrew Rogers back flank. Two 30-year-olds really just are the cement that binds the bricks.
Spehr sends the ball to the eastern boundary. Pesh taps it forward. Carter, quick handball. It's intercepted by Hayes. Opportunity now for Walker. He sends it to half forward underneath it. Wakeland goes against Filippo. Help from Fiarchi and also Jason Ziller. Players dive on it, and we'll see plenty more of this sort of footy today. The conditions very wet. And there's a certainly not the skipper of the Port Adelaide football team, but he's dressed for the occasion if he likes water. Half forward line for the Eagles. Chalmers, Malakellis, Hutton there as well. Pays does it too easily as he swings around on his left boot. A contest, front of the pack.
Tyler was holding Nickel. Tyler was grabbing Nickel by the jumper. He slingshotted himself past. See if we can pick it up here. Here comes Tyler. We missed it earlier. The umpire, there he was. He just, I don't think it was much on it really.
Yes, Nickel. Kick 5 in their last meeting. Very close indeed. Oh, the Maggies are in terrible strife. We've only played 12 minutes.
And the Eagles could find themselves fortunate to have got a goal there. I think that was one of the softest free kicks you'll see in a grand final. They were just jostling with each other. Tyler, with superior strength and pace in the finish, took front position. The umpire penalised him. And Nickel kicks a goal and really hurts the Magpies.
Such a flexible player is Stuart Nickel. He'll have a run on the ball during the day, I'm sure. 13 minutes in, big start from the Eagles. A couple of Eagles, speaking of that, ran into each other in the middle. One is hurt.
Camporelli. In fact, no, it's Pesh, is it?
George Fiarchi, meantime, has got on the far side. It's Scott Morphett, who's in some trouble in the centre of the ground, so it could be a body blow. The man who's kicked 2 of their 4 goals so far. And I'd suggest to you, looking at that he's very much out of wind. David Hutton, far side. Has a look for Scotty. They need you, boy. They need you to take a few marks early in this grand final to get them moving, the Maggies. And Ginever sees it to the line. Let's have another look at Morphett in the centre of the ground.
Stephen Ziller crashed through and he ricocheted off Rowan Smith and collected Morphett in the midriff.
Front of the scoreboard on the far side. Kluzek, another possession for him. They clear it from half-back, right up towards centre wing. Walker's there. So too is Pesh. Filippo can't control the ball and it goes over dead set centre wing on the far side. The showers have subsided. We're 14.5 minutes into the all-important first term, the trend-setting term, and it's 4-1 to 1 point.
Filippo from behind gets it down. Pesh. They've been too good. They've controlled the air and they've controlled the crumbs. More pressure from Port Adelaide. That's what's required as Kluzek sends him forward again. He's best man on the ground for the Eagles at the moment, Kluzek. 7-2 so far, and Michael Asher's on the boundary line. And Michael, what an incredible start for the Eagles. It's really put the pressure back on the Maggies.
Well, it certainly has, Neville. Interesting to see that the Eagles on ballers, as usual all year, particularly the Zillers and Andrew Pays, creating havoc.
So the runner's doing the damage for the Eagles at the moment. There's Spill, there's a charge. Hutton, great tackle on him. Wallace gets it wide. He's got Hutton again. Carter, he needs to go and help him, not ask for the footy out. Malakellis goes in. Carter's got it now. He's over 50. He has a shot. He's wide and left as the Magpie player fans go berserk. So do the Eagles. And he did well to get through there, Carter, but offline.
Carter, one of those tremendous products from the 91 Teal Cup squad that won the Teal Cup in Darwin. There's a host of them that have gone on to bigger and better things. The Fremantle Dockers have picked him out as a target for next season.
It comes to Dan Smith and he gets it at half forward. Plays it on, has a look. He's got Pedler, who's going to complement, or at least try to complement Hodges today. Runs it across the line and Camporelli sees him over.
You'd have to say Darren Smith had far too much experience to butcher a footy like that. Wet ball regardless, he needed to hit the body with that ball.
Neiman lays it down in front of Darren Smith. Stephen Williams, some valuable possessions, if not many of them, and it goes forward, and Malakalis has got it inside range.
Look at the experience of Malakalis to put himself in a position to mark this ball. It's quite outstanding. He was caught out of position, just a little shove, and gathered it in.
Diminutive little bloke. He needs to kick this goal desperately for Port Adelaide. If anything, he should take a slice of the right post. Let's have a look. Oh, it's probably a bit much, Tony. From the side of the boot. Through for one behind. So Port Adelaide get their third behind. It's 4-1 to 3 points, and we're 17 minutes into the first quarter.
Malakalis kicked 3 in the opening final against the Bulldogs, 1 in the second semi against the Eagles, and then 2 goals won last week in the preliminary against Central. 30 goals for the year. He has been effective.
Yes, both he and Ginever are capable of carrying the footy over a line, and they need it to happen today. Beautifully read Kennedy at the back of the pack. Wants Filippo, slips tight, attempt. Wakeman cleans up and sends the ball back to centre wing. McLeod, but beautifully done. Rodgers, percentage.
I think Wakeland's on top of Filippo, isn't he, at this stage?
Yes, he is at the moment, and yet Rowan Smith having the better of Camporelli. Wouldn't have thought that early. Been a good effort. And another ball up, centre wing. 4-1, plays 3 points.
Camporelli's had 1 kick, 7 handballs. Rowan Smith 3 kicks.
Thanks, David. Carter. Can't pick it up, but doesn't. Runs into a wall of Eagles. He's belted to the ground. Spalding back. Boulais quick. They're under so much pressure, the Magpies. They can't do anything with any clarity at all. And that's just good work, the Eagles, and good pressure.
Saw a bit of an AFL grand final yesterday where an Eagles outfit were first at the football, and they were very tough. And early in this grand final, there were a few similar signs. The Eagles are first to the football. They see it across the line on grandstand side.
There's a long way to go yet, though.
Just some similar signs. Certainly no panic amongst the Port Adelaide troops at the moment, but some similar signs. They need first access to the ball on a day like this, indeed on any day. Stephen Ziller applies a bear-like tackle. Camporelli, the reflex is good, isn't it? Kluzak, kick number 8 for the turn for him. How's that for a start to the grand final? Delaney leads in the race to the ball. It comes back towards Ziller. Wheels around. That's Jason Ziller. There's a whistle gone off the ball.
Stephen Ziller shepherded Ginever away from his brother, trying to protect him, but in doing so he collected Ginever high, and the umpire, Richard Williams, gave away the 3.
So Ginever will take it at the half-back. He's one of the draftsmen of this side, and they really need his greatest level of productivity this afternoon. He comes towards half-back Chalmers. You need to take those, Brett. He's spoiled away. And across the line, so they just can't get a series of plays together. That man on screen, at just 21 years of age, is one of the most important men on the park this afternoon. They need his very best performance. In fact, all Port Adelaide players need their best to beat this very slick Eagles outfit. Well done, Camporelli. Got it from Rodgers up towards the full forward line. Taylor again is first there. Pesh is first there. They've got one spare. You're a bit slow, Sam. Still got it to Walker. Runs into an open goal, and he has got it. Magnificent start from the Eagles. Walker gets his first. The Eagles are 5-1. Port at 3 points, and we're just 20 minutes into the grand final.
Well, I know you might have thought Filippo was slow here, but what he was actually doing was just holding the ball to allow Walker to run into space. He actually demanded that Walker ran there, and in holding the ball and forcing Walker forward, he created the space. Fiachi had to come forward at him, and it had provided the space to Walker to run into. It was beautiful work by Filippo.
Eagles are 5-1, 31. Port Adelaide 3 points, and Michael Aisha's got some information for us on boundary line.
Neville, interesting to see that the Eagles work in close is exceptional. Bruce Winter working on the hands, even under the conditions, getting the ball out of those packs very quickly.
Yes, that's a good observation, and that all the close work is being won by the Eagles. Tight traffic, something you expect of Port Adelaide normally. Nickel goes to ground on ball A. Zilla there as well, and 31 plays 3, 20 minutes in. You wouldn't have predicted this, Stephen.
Well, you wouldn't have, particularly since Port Adelaide are the side that needed to start well, because they needed to get a rolling piece of momentum up, because the Eagles are in such good form. Jason
Ziller got it out, and it's pushed forward by Schwartz. Chance over the far side for Carter. It won't sit for him. He sees pace and is happy to go over the line.
He's had a terrific final series, Stephen Carter, hasn't he? A lot of people suggested mid-year that he was coasting, but he certainly hasn't coasted in the finals. He's found that extra level.
Chalmers couldn't take it. Hayes gets in over the ball. We've got another whistle, so the umpires are having plenty to do at the moment. Let's hope they don't try and dominate proceedings.
I think they've let it go pretty well so far.
Okay, a differing assessment. As Borlase gets it from half-back. He's always been an umpire's man, David Mackay, mind you. He speaks at their dinners. Nickel pays, put the foot on the throttle, but there was a man close by. This is Jason Ziller, hands it off to Stephen. It's a couple of times we've seen that so far in the final. Morphett, the sun's shining at Football Park. Not shining that much on the Maggies at the moment. In over the ball is Carter, throws the elbows around, and it's a neutral ball at half-forward.
He's an aggressive customer, Stephen Carter. He doesn't like to be tackled and pinned. He hates to be dominated, and there's an interchange on meters coming on for Port Adelaide. We'll try and pick up who's coming off.
George Fiacci confronted Filippo. Thought it might have been a little strong, and Sam's got it at half-forward. And another chance to build something for the Eagles. 5-1 to 3 points. How's that for a start? Casting a shadow now. The sun's out inside, and not quite taken by Northeast. Really should have taken it. Taylor dispatched it towards Pesh from the ground. Now Fiacci, and some breathing space. To the far side of the ground it goes. Well done by Hannum, but it was illegal, the umpire said. Thrust the hand in the air to indicate time on. It'll be taken on the far side by Port Adelaide.
Hodges is out at centre-half forward, fellas. Pedler's gone to full forward.
Awful kick from Hodges, just a tumbler, and it fell straight into the arms of Nickel.
Yeah, it's just a little sign that they're prepared to try anything, and maybe just a little bit of panic. Camporelli inside. The runner is Jason Ziller. Taylor on a lead. Free kick in his back. Taylor will take the free on 50. Oh, they're at a disorganised rabble, the Magpies at the moment. They've been comprehensively thrashed all over the ground.
I think it's more out of their midfield, particularly. Chalmers comes off, Mead on, so they're going to ruck Mead as Taylor shoots for goal.
So, within the minds of the Magpies, a fair bit of panic at the moment. Taylor, one to his credit, he punches it towards goal. He's lost accuracy looking for the distance. So the Eagles go along to 5-2-32. They lead Port Adelaide just 3 points.
He does do that a bit, Neville, though, doesn't he? He leans back on the kicks, Andrew Taylor, particularly from a long way out. 60 goals, 42 for the year. Not a good conversion rate for a specialist full forward.
Here's Mead, straight onto the ground and straight into the action. Towards the line, looked as though it just dribbled over. It did. I have to say that I, for one, would like to see Chalmers on the ground for the duration. I think he's a wonderful contributor. He's probably their most important player. And sure, use Darren Mead, use him somewhere else. Bretty's so important. Pretty hard to argue with Jack, though. 22 years of senior coaching and looking at his 9th premiership. That's not a bad record. Morphett, right leg, little unfamiliar, well taken by Carter. Had to take it, played it on. Beautifully done by Taylor, wraps it up and creates another chance inside the half-forward line.
Yep. They're the things that Andrew Taylor does that a lot of people don't give him credit for. Carter goes off, Taylor applies the tackle, just got a boot to the ball. Carter didn't like it either, did he? He just unsettled Carter just that bit.
Here's Taylor. Malakellus got one high, and he'll get a free kick. A little bit of wrestling. I'd imagine that the catalyst, that's Malakellus and Borlase, Williams, Ginever, against the Zillers and Pays. The winner in the catalyst department will go a long way to winning this game, notwithstanding the fact that the Eagles have started beautifully, just like that. Camporelli, Pesh, another chance. They are plundering the goals at the moment. Right up there, and another chance. Not quite taken. Morphett's got it. From the ground, he gets his third. Great start by the half-forward flanker come Ruck Rover. What a start. Into time on. The Eagles are absolutely on fire. 6-2 to 3 points.
Morphett's always been a big game player. He just loves matches like this. He produces his best. Look at him. He made plenty of ground. He came from 45 metres out. As the ball came in, he really ran at that ball, created the opportunity to get under the fall of the ball. Unfortunately, it fell at his feet, and he made no mistake.
The Magpies just in the boiling pot at the moment. They're nearly done. Time on at Footy Park, grand final. There's an Eagles chant already. No white flags up for the Maggies though. They need to steady, they need a goal. Well, gee, they don't need this margin to get any larger. Hutton goes through the centre. Mead needs to take this. Dangerous and risky play. Recovers well to send the ball forward. Caught behind is McLeod. Caught was Rogers. Good work, Borlays. Well, that was Williams, I should say. Northeast sends it forward. Rogers, Kennedy, combined pretty well. Hannum, this is Ginever around his body, high to the forward pocket. Opportunity for Pedler, but the Eagles will see it over, and the Magpies get their 4th point.
Yeah, Carter's got a point, Malakalis has got a point, and the other 2 are rushed. So the Eagles are quite prepared to concede a point when they're under threat.
Well, with the lead they've got, a 34-point lead, just into time on in this first quarter, reasonably comfortable.
To half-back, and Mead, who is athletic, indeed acrobatic at some stages, takes it, gets it to Olsen. Now the sort of pressure that they're under is forcing them wide. They're at the line. A little to do inside half forward and 30 metres from the ball between Hannum and Malakalis. Sees Hodges get there late. And they've played it on. They're a chance with Ginever. Has he taken it? It's Williams, in fact.
Well, Hodges wants to go on to it with Hannum. Now Spehr comes out, and Spehr is tough, and so's Hodges. Make no mistake, if those 2 go at it, Kennedy or Spehr and Hodges, there'll be sparks flying.
I imagine that Port Adelaide may have needed this 15 minutes ago. Here's a chance from Malakalis. Didn't get any elevation. Schwartz.
Oh, it's on Ginever. There'll be a report here. Oh, no. Ginever and Freeborn exchanging blows. Ginever goes to ground and picks up the free kick 30 metres out directly in front. What a turnaround.
Well, Port Adelaide are so very good at this. I was just expressing some surprise that I felt that maybe we would have seen it 10 or 15 minutes ago, because they just unsettle sides when the going gets tough. And here's the result. They get a chance from, well, around about 35 metres.
Well, there's no way Port Adelaide were going to lay back and let the Eagles kick another 2 or 3 goals.
It's a big kick, Timmy. He's looming at 250 games. This is one of his most important kicks. He's nailed it. Long overdue for the Maggies. At the 28-minute mark of the grand final, they get their first. 6-2 to 1-4.
Let's just see if we can pick this up in the background. Here goes Ginever. Oh, he let one rip first, so Freeborn was responding. And obviously the retaliator was picked up, but Timmy let the first one go.
So the Magpies trying to claw their way back. They've got 1 goal for, but they've got a 28-point deficit. Not much time left in this first quarter. Williams out of the centre. He can be a dangerous player. That's to the disadvantage of the Magpies. It was called back. And the free kick with Mead. He's had an influence since he's come on, though, hasn't he? Number 33. Over half forward, a chance. Hodges! Super catch! And 50, 25, I should say.
You see this so often, don't you, that when Hodges gets fired up, he plays a little better, and it's just the thing. And you can almost see him throwing himself in there, willing himself to get a little more activity.
From 10, Ginever's kick might have sparked the Maggies. He closed the gap. Maybe they're coming back, the Maggies. A good opportunity as Hodges gets his first. They must settle now.
This is a dangerous time for the Eagles. Scotty Hodges takes a big mark. It's a huge mark over the top of Hannum. Then 25 metres, and the Magpies are playing on emotion currently. They're really fired up. It's the time on period where Port Adelaide are extraordinary. They destroy sides in this position. Now coming off is Hannum and Sheldrick on. Sheldrick goes to pick up Scott Hodges in defence.
Big job for Sheldrick, because he was very good last week in the preliminary final, but it was easy coasting then. The moment the Magpies have a little head of steam up. Well done by Mead. Couldn't do much with it though. Little toe poke from Darren Smith. I think he was being very careful about Malakalis in over the football, and he's gone for holding the ball. So Kluzak gets it at half-back. What an outing he's had so far. He thumps it up towards the half-forward line with kick number 10 for the term, if you don't mind. Adelaide Crow player, an exciting player, and he started this grand final in superb fashion. Spalding, frenetic little worker, keeps feet, did it well, got one in the back, should get a free kick and does.
They copped one high before that. He actually copped one high. It put him off balance, and then he went to ground and copped one in the back as well.
So Spalding puts it to half forward. Darren Smith is the target. Rakes a hand there, can't quite pull it in. Here's Sheldrick, first touch for the game. He'll go for holding the ball. Not quite. The umpire's waving his arms around, calling play on. Williams, another chance for the Magpies. We're 31 minutes in. There won't be much more time on. Last chance for an attack, I'd imagine, and Neiman takes it inside half-back and gets 25.
Olsen came in late, put on a late body, and gave away 25 metres. It was an important mark in defence for Neiman. It just allowed the Eagles to steady.
Thumping kick, 50 metres. Wakeland puts the fist into it, but the siren's gone to end. Another chance for Port Adelaide, 6-2 to 2-4. It's a very healthy margin at the moment of 22 points. David Mackay, how do you see it as a start for the Eagles?
Well, the Eagles started, they blew out to a 34-point lead at one stage before Port Adelaide through Ginever and Hodges were able to reel them back in, but I just suspect that Port Adelaide in the last 5 or 6 minutes of that quarter have got their emotion running. They went out pretty controlled. A lot of people expected them to be hard and tough at the ball. They weren't, but they fired up late in the quarter, and I think the second quarter will be full of fireworks.
So 22 points in it at quarter time in the big one. The grand final, it's not raining. Good conditions now for the exclusive coverage on ABC Sport of the 1994 SANFL Grand Final.
You're watching the 1994 SANFL Grand Final on your ABC. Well, Neville Roberts, what an extraordinary start. They've exploded, haven't they, the Eagles?
Yes, they came out of the blocks so well, and Port Adelaide renowned so much for being prepared, their adrenaline firing at the body and aggressive, but it was the Eagles who stole the limelight early, particularly with their runners, Cluzak, Camporelli and Morphett. What a magnificent start for him, 3 goals in the first quarter of a grand final.
All of the stuff in close, generally Port Adelaide are good at that, but the 50-50 balls have gone the Eagles' way.
Yes, they have, and their quick hands, players like Pesh, Cluzak and the Zilla boys, and you saw Pesh in the goal square give one off to Morphett. It was just absolutely superb. The Eagles must be very confident with that start. They would be getting a lecture from Bruce Winter now about letting the Port Adelaide people back in the last 5 minutes of that quarter.
So an extraordinary start there for the Eagles. Bruce Winter really pumping the team up. Gee, they were 30-odd points in front at one stage. But as Neville said, Port Adelaide always very dangerous in time on. Walker kicked a wonderful goal for the Eagles, a man who's come from Perth.
Yes, indeed, and it was Pesh who set the whole thing up in the first place to Filippo, who held back on the handball and almost encouraged Walker into some space. David Mackay picked that up beautifully into the open goal, and there was nothing slack about that at all.
Yes, and here's Scotty Morphett. What's he got? 3 goals so far. Have a look at this for deft touch. Bang, off the boot. And terrific work. Carter's got his hands full, hasn't he?
Yes, he has, and Port Adelaide have got their handful all over the ground. They're just not doing enough work. Weren't doing enough work in the first part. They were just simply out-bustled at the crumbs. They weren't doing enough work to get the numbers around the ground, and all full credit to the Eagles. They're just prepared to do a lot more hard work, and they're prepared to go in, run at the body, take them on physically, and Port Adelaide have run second best in this quarter anyway.
Well, we've seen some wonderful marks in 1994. Neville, what about this one from Scotty Hodges? Is this the mark of the year?
Well, it's not a bad effort, is it? Under a lot of pressure, he was going against Hannum on that occasion, went over the top of him and took it in a one-handed action, then went back and kicked Port Adelaide's second goal, and gee, they needed that.
All right, let's have a look at the quarter by quarter. 6-2-38. Port Adelaide 2-4, 16 the margin, 22 points. Outstanding start to the Eagles, but Port Adelaide not to be denied, getting 2 late goals.
Yes, Morphett leads away with 3. A brilliant first quarter. Nickel, Walker and Taylor just 1 each in for the Magpies. Just Ginever and Hodges. And let's have a look at the stats as you'd expect the Eagles. Just more of a handle on the ball at the moment. Port Adelaide on top of marks. Handballs, 3 times as many the Eagles. They're throwing the ball around beautifully. Port Adelaide, although they took Chalmers off, they're winning the knockouts, and Meads already had a fantastic effect on this game. Michael Aish is on the boundary line, and Michael, you couldn't predict that for a start for the Maggies, could you?
Oh, certainly not, and I think Bruce would be very happy, in particular Scotty Morphett chipping in with 3 goals, and Andrew Taylor, who was down in his last final, has come back and started very well.
Michael, looking at Port Adelaide, they took Chalmers off the ground. We're all critical of that up here, but you couldn't be critical of what Mead did when he came on.
Without a doubt, I think that Chalmers has been a very good player for them, and Mead, well, he's pretty strong, pretty robust, so they've got a good on and off the bench duo there.
Port Adelaide have to tighten up their defence on the Cluzaks, Camporellis and Zillas, don't they? They've been tearing them to pieces.
Well, they do, and as I called earlier, their in-close work has been exceptional. Eagles going with about a 2-goal win, so it'll be a very important 5 or 10 minutes of this quarter for the Magpies.
Thank you very much, Michael Aish on the boundary line. The start of the second quarter, the 1994 SANFL Grand Final. Here's Stephen Trigg.
This time Richard Williams holds it up, gets the second quarter moving. And I suspect there might be a problem with Brett Chalmers because Mead has started the rucking division in this the second term. Smith from the ground ricochets off, comes back towards Ginever. He's thrown himself into the contest as he needs to. Captain Courageous, they called him in the budget. That's exactly what he is. Over the top it went towards Kennedy. Quick hands to Neiman. The flags are still fluttering somewhat. There's a bevy of players in there. We'll have a bounce down inside the centre square. The flags are still fluttering. So if anything, it will be to Port's advantage throughout this term.
I think your prognosis about Brett Chalmers being injured must be right, and that's one of the benefits of having Mead on the bench. He's so versatile. He can play in defence, up forward or in the ruck.
Chance for the Maggies. Over the 50 they are. Great tackle. Sheldrick goes to ground with Malakelis opposite in number. And the tackle was good, says the umpire. So on the ground. His kick is a beauty. He comes towards the grandstand side. Filippo, big punch on him. Good discipline by the Maggies. And you were John Cahill at quarter time, Stephen. What would you have said to the Magpies?
Probably simple things, I think. First at the football, give yourself a chance, first excess at it, and run hard and put some pressure on your opponents when they've got it.
Stephen Williams running hard. The kick is a beauty. Pedler! They're looking a little bit better, a bit more confident, a bit steadier.
And if you want to value or measure the value of Stephen Williams to this team, look at that. A beautiful ball to Pedler on the lead. Pedler demanded it there, but with a wet ball, Stephen Williams over 50 metres put it right on the spot.
Pedler playing out of a forward pocket. Pretty nervous about his first kick in the grand final. In he comes. It's home. Oh, John Cahill will be wiping the sweat from his brow. Great start for the second quarter.
And he's got a little bit to prove, Simon Pedler too, if you don't mind. He only got 1 point in the opening game against Central, the opening game of the finals. They dropped him against the Eagles. They didn't think he was up to their standard. Then he came back with 5 goals in the preliminary final against Central, so his form's been outstanding. In fact, he was the guiding light in their forward line last week.
2.5 minutes in, 6-2 to 3-4. A quick 3 might do it for the Magpies, put them back in front. Won't be that easy because this Eagles outfit is very, very tough. Just as they're looking to close it down now in the centre. Neiman has been superb so far. He's got Nickel on hand if he needs him.
And that last ball up and so on where Williams took it away, that's the first time they've really cleaned up at a ball up and gone into their forward line with some efficiency. And again at the ball ups, they're holding them in and they're just a little bit more confident about attacking the body and getting their hands on the footy first. They look better.
Yes, they've matured very quickly, the Eagles. They know when it's time to close things down, and this is what's happening right now. Rodgers keeps a play on it, but so too does Rowan Smith. Rode the bump beautifully. Beautifully done, Rowan. To Spalding, gets it back. Look at that for being outnumbered. They're everywhere, the Eagles. A whole nest of them. Camporelli pays, and Mead sinks the fist into it and finds the sanctuary of the boundary line on the far side. Wasn't a bad idea to try and close it down. This is Football Park in South Australia, the 1994 SANFL Grand Final. A chance for the Eagles to go back-to-back, and a chance for Port Adelaide to build on the one that they won in the wet in 1992. A throw. Sees Nick Pesh get it on the far side. Taylor's zigzagging everywhere. Bit of moon dancing. Michael Jackson to be proud of that. Up he goes. Here is Taylor now. Well done by Delaney. He goes across the line.
There's the Port bench, and most recognisable there is Greg Phillips behind the Port runner. Plenty of nerves there at the moment.
Nickel. Fiacci's in there as well. Sam Filippo's there. Stephen Zilla gets run into. Everywhere you see a contest like that, you see Stephen Williams. Sam Filippo to the head of the square, and Taylor presented himself and taken a good mark.
Well, what's the build up to this? Taylor just kept his eye on the ball. Now Tyler's got Taylor now by the looks of it. No, Delaney's gone back to the square, so Tyler's still in the pocket.
Taylor a chance from 40 metres out. Umpire doesn't move much, and Taylor gets his second. So 7-2 plays 3-4. And we're inside 5 minutes of the second quarter.
Well, he's had a stint with Footscray, had a stint with the Brisbane Bears, but he really has found a home with the Eagles, Andrew Taylor. Doubtful due to a hamstring strain. Really has allayed all those fears. He's come out firing, has 2 goals before half-time. In fact, we're only 5 minutes into the second term.
5 minutes in, 7-2, 44. Plays 3-4, 22. Neiman gets the tap on this occasion. Ginever works hard, too high on Morphett, not seen. Camporelli just dispossessed. Plenty of players, Kluzak and Williams, the two on the bottom. So rain still falling here at Football Park. And, most of us think that's to Port Adelaide's advantage, but the Eagles have made a mockery of the tough conditions as Kluzak gets another kick away. Been a brilliant player so far today. Oh, brilliantly done. Walker to Pesh. He ran too far, surely. Yes, the umpire agrees with me. That doesn't happen very often. 11 and 3.
And I think Nick Pesh knew too, Neville, didn't he? But when you've got George Piazzi and Paul Northeast on your hammer, you tuck the ball under your arm and you go as quick as you can, as far as you can. He just went too far.
He was looking for options. They weren't there for him. And he was penalised. So a breather for the Magpies. Mead overruns it. Delaney. They go to ground pretty easily over there on that slippery wing. McLeod coming on in a
Olsen will come off, Neville.
So Olsen comes off. So one goal kicker for another. And maybe his ground skills just a little bit better.
And a change for the Eagles as well. Sheldrick is coming back off the ground. And the man he replaced in the first quarter is Hannum. He's going back on.
Yes, it was a mismatch in height, so Winter saw that quickly and got Hannum to pick up McLeod. So Sheldrick too tall for that job.
Good piece of coaching. Centre wing. Spoils put on. The umpire's found another free kick on centre wing, far side. So the rain is absolutely bucketing down at the moment. The umbrellas are up. Some have looked for some shelter under the concourse. I don't know whether you could find it there either. There's some water dripping down inside of the commentary box at the moment. Stephen Williams, far side. The umpires are well protected in there. They're the reserve umpires. And Port Adelaide now with a chance. Well, they were a chance until David Neiman got his big chest in the way. He's very cool, isn't he? Just from one step. Scott Morphett lost feet. Here's Ginever. Dynamic little worker from the ground. Was all in one motion, wasn't bad. 13 possessions in the first quarter for Kluzak, and there's another one. Up towards half forward it goes, and Philippo's in front. Oh, they look ominous at the moment. The whistle went late. Play on in the end came towards Page from centre wing. He's just drifted down. He's taken a mark 45 metres from goal.
Doing the simple and logical things, the Eagles, aren't they? In front where they have to be. Short in the when players are kicking in, and Page getting into space there, leaving Ginever no hope of spoiling that.
Ginever was dropping back. He was trying to be a defensive rover. Hutton is actually Page's man, and Hutton was quite a way away.
The irony of the way that the Eagles are doing it at the moment, it's exactly what Port Adelaide do to every other side except for the Eagles. Page from the instep. Did Mead get a hand to it? Yes, he did. It was touched, and now it's across the line. So we've got 7-2 to 3-4. The Maggies need 4 goals to be back in business.
Member of the Mackay family, Eagle supporters, by the way, fellas. Thank you for that.
Don't doubt that for a minute. No, you are, David. And Carter decides that it's better over the line and out of trouble, so there'll be another kick in. A score, though, to the Eagles. It's 7-3-45. Port Adelaide at 3-4-22. So the sun's back out again now.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's a tropical climate here in Adelaide today. Delaney to bring the ball back in.
Umpires said, would you believe, that's the first time I've seen that this year, that the leg went across the line. And so we'll have a bounce down right at the head of the 10-metre square.
We should explain, Stephen, to those people who are just watching a grand final, the fullback must kick inside the line. If he goes outside the line, they bounce the ball on the point of the square.
Another chance. Mead. Plenty of busy little Eagles in there at the moment. They'd love to get another one now that they're down there. Walker hurriedly around the body. Didn't carry 10, I don't think, or did it? Yes, it did. Must have been 10 and a half. It's been taken by Northeast, who collected one from Nickel, and they'll get the assistance of 25 metres. Whistle went. Play on was the call at the same time, and Daisy Borlase has it half back, far side. Has a look at Darren Smith, who was so very, very good in the preliminary final last week. Has been cleaned up so far by a very classy Mark Kennedy. To half forward he goes. Can't quite get there, Sam Philippo, and it dribbles across the line.
Hodges is on a half forward flank. So they're obviously ringing some changes, trying to get some penetration across half forward, Port Adelaide.
I I'd say to get him away from Jason Spehr, who's just got his measure at the moment. Scott Hodges is the best full forward in the competition, surely.
Yes, and but the Eagles are doing the work midfield, aren't they? They've really stopped the feed to him, and he's found it so hard to get out on a lead and just have a straight crack at the footy. Carter, good in defence. Tyler, I should say, on this occasion, Carter hasn't been too bad. Tyler's backward of 50. He'll go long. Scott Hodges and or Smith, both of them will fly. Hodges was the last one up to ground. Williams beautifully crumbed. Rowan Smith, they need these two boys. Malak Ellis, the end of that. Well spoiled on that occasion, Freeborn. A chance for Pedlar as McLeod kicked it off the ground. Freeborn taps it forward intelligently. Swar's happy for the line. Sheldrick off. Sheldrick on, I should say, for Nickel. Number 43. He's been a big player for the Eagles this year, either defence or in the ruck or in the forward line.
Bruce Winter was pointing the finger. He wasn't happy with the 25-metre penalty.
Spot on.
So in the second quarter of a grand final, it doesn't matter. You can come off of the ground, and speaking of being on the ground, here's Michael Aish. Well, he was there anyway. Are you with us, Michael?
Yes, Never interesting to see that two undisciplined act by Nickel and Hannum has seen Bruce Winter with a lot of courage rip them straight off the ground.
He's not afraid to let them know about it, and it's a grand final after all, and regardless of what the margin is, the same rules apply, and Bruce Winter would be demanding that everyone follows them.
Yes, he creates great store in players being disciplined and holding their emotions.
The Eagles by 23 points. A chance for Rodgers. Borlase has got him. Walker works in hard. Pesh gets it out to Spehr. It was Kennedy, I should say. Carter inside. Now they build. Mead from the centre of the ground. Pedlar can't take it. Opportunity for McLeod. Talk about some pressure. They're having a real dip though at the moment, the Maggies. The Eagles are up to every bit of it though.
Big day out for Andy McLeod. They need his leg speed desperately through the half-forward line. They need him to steal a few goals, 3 or 4 goals probably between now and the end of the game to give them a chance. Just starting to get a little dark again as Spehr brings it into half-back. Mead, little shove. Beautifully done, Darren. He's got it at half-forward. Thump it back up there. Oh, he decides to go short. What an error. So a good piece of work marred by that decision. It's fallen into the arms of Greg Walker. Plays it on. They're so very sure about themselves, the Eagles. Comes towards the centre of the ground, right in the heart of Football Park. Thumped away, beautifully taken by Spalding. They're just starting to build something. I thought Fiacci got it high. Didn't get a free kick. Walker pays, shrugs the tackle, comes towards the side. Someone explain to me just how this man, Jason Ziller, is 50 metres free. I just don't know. He goes in short and he's got Sheldrick, or is it Taylor? It's Taylor.
I might have time now. Fiacci was streaming downfield, carried the ball through, gave it off, and then the Eagles stole it away. Fiacci was doing the right thing, and when it works, it looks spectacular, but when it comes unstuck, your man's 30 yards clear behind you.
Taylor has 2. He's not going to build on that, though, but you can see the ball bending around, indicating that the breeze is coming from right to left, through for one behind, so the Eagles at the 13.5, 14-minute marker up to 7-4. Port Adelaide are 3-5.
The Eagles operate a zone defence. They have players out wide, making sure that they can cut off a Port Adelaide player.
Delaney looks for the right option, and that's long at this stage. Percentage all the time from here for the Eagles. Big punch in by Kluzak is very intelligent. Fiacci caught. The Ziller brothers, a throw, call the crowd. Fiacci to ground, he's caught with the footy. Quick kick out by Northeast. Underneath it, Carter. McLeod was there. Handball straight to Demon. Mistakes, but pressure. McLeod now. Kellis is wide. Centre wing, they're doing nothing easy, the Magpies. Smith takes it. He's reorganised his forward line, Cahill. Plays on quickly. He's got Pedlar out. If he can get there, it's a good kick. Good completion by the Maggies.
It's important for Port Adelaide, isn't it? Darren Smith to get on top at centre half forward. That was only his second mark and his second kick, Darren Smith. But when he finds the ball, he opens up the forward line, and he always does something with it. He's a highly skilled player for a big man.
So Pedlar comes in. He already has one this quarter. It's a valuable shot at goal. It's offline. And
it was a difficult one. He had a fair distance and he was kicking over a fair distance as Neiman comes off the ground. And another point is added to the Port Adelaide score. They trail by 22 points.
Jason Spehr brings it back in again. Well done by Mead. Still no sign of Chalmers, so there must be a problem. McLeod around the body. Can't quite take it. Pedler. And it goes across the line. Bruce Winter is going a little harder at the voice, as he normally would at quarter time in this grand final. A little upset with things, despite the fact that they were leading by 22 points. I guess he's saved some of the vocal stuff for when he really needs it. Stephen Williams, Pays, Spalding. They need one now that it's down in that pressure zone. Darren Smith's a chance to take it, couldn't quite do so. Borlase is there, so too Stephen Williams. He's thrown himself at everything at the moment, Stephen. Here's a chance. Rowan Smith, he wheels around. Big kick, Rowan. Right up towards the full forward line. Not quite taken by McLeod. Now he is busy from the ground. Did he take it high? Dragged it back. Nothing there. Hannum. And they work it out of trouble. Freeborn got it towards Nickel. They play it on to the far side. It's gone across the line. So enough pressure to force the error.
I think you're quite right. I think there was a free kick. There's the kick from Nickel. And Scotty Hodges is fired up. He really is attacking the Eagles physically.
Here's Rowan Smith. They get another chance. They need a catch up there at the moment. They can't quite take it. Rogers paddles it forward. And guess what? Stephen Williams is in over another neutral ball, working hard.
50-50 balls, Port Adelaide call them, and Stephen Williams wins more than he loses, that's for sure.
Yeah, Stephen Williams, the veteran. Up goes Hodges, a chance for Smith. He goes wide. Williams around the body. Sensational goal. He's first.
Well, there's no doubt about his fitness at all, is there? He's throwing himself at everything. 257 games, Stephen Williams. Remarkable effort. If there's two players that can turn this game for Port Adelaide, Stephen Williams is one of them, and Scott Hodges is the other. And there he just puts the coup de grace to a terrific solo effort.
Critical time in the 94 grand final. 7-4 to 4-6, and we're coming up to 18 minutes in. Can Port Adelaide string a couple together? Stephen Carter has his way, they will, but you're going to have to be good, Stephen, because there's a whole lot of Eagles there. Here's one of them, Pays. The tackle just held him up for long enough to give Waitland a chance. Fiarchi, get down there, George, pick it up. Can't quite. And we'll have another bounce down just outside the 50-metre line.
So let's have a look at some stats. They've squared the kicks away almost. More handballs to Port Adelaide. More handballs to the Eagles. They really do work beautifully in close. The free's in favour of the Eagles at the moment.
Pays. Quick kick, Pesh. His little look-alike drags it around the body. They're so good at this, the Eagles. Every time they're threatened, they just bounce back. Pesh gets his first in 18 minutes into the second term. It's 8-4 to 4-6.
Quite an extraordinary goal, isn't it, Nick Pesh? Pure power, 48 metres out with a wet ball, and that's gone through almost post high. He's a powerful individual. Doesn't kick a lot of goals, mind you. 13 games this year, he's only kicked 7.
Let's have a look at the goal scorers. Morphett has 3 and Taylor 2 for the Eagles.
Have a look, Morphett to 3, leads the way there.
The Eagles are 8-4. Port Adelaide are 4-6, they trail. 22 points, 18 minutes into this second quarter. They can't let much more of a gap open up. They might pay dearly for that tardy first quarter start. Oh. Sensational bump. Pays. Kicks it in long. Delaney will lead in the race to the ball. Wakeland will go to help him. Taylor right on his hammer. He'll take it to the boundary line and predictably over.
I was just watching Ginever at that centre bounce, and right throughout the little piece of work where it was tough, and he threw himself selflessly at every single ball. You can see him there just off of screen, cropping one, and it was a very hard knock, I can tell you, but he's working very hard, Ginever, trying to get them back in it.
Pesh again, quick hands. Kemperley goes to ground. Borlase has a chance to look. You wouldn't have thought so.
Might just share this with you. Stephen Ziller was the guy who got him. He lined him up and came from about 5 metres away. Ginever was coming through at one stage with the ball, and Ziller just said, cop this.
Kluzak will take the kick. 11 and 4. In centre. Waiting for a hole to open up. They'll just keep possession, the Eagles. This is Nickel. Doesn't want to give it up without an opportunity. Not much happening in the Eagles forward line. He's forced just to send it in long. Phillippo, Wakeland's there as well. Oh, Rodgers gets through the traffic.
Left footer. Beautifully spoiled Taylor. Opportunity pays. Off the ground, Fiarchi. Straight to Taylor. Quick one. Around the body. Zilla. Malakelis. Tight. Fiarchi. Wakeman. Nowhere to go. Gets it out. Spalding. Caught. Shake tackle. Pesh. Held up Sheldrick. How about the pressure?
Well, there were 4 or 5 terrific solo efforts back there, weren't there? The Zilla boys, Pesh particularly, applying the tackle, and you thought Port Adelaide were going to run it out of defence. They had no chance. They've lifted their work rate at the moment, Port Adelaide. But as always, the Eagles can withstand it. And they are at the moment. Delaney sinks the fist into it. Northeast can't get there first. Delaney, well, it was Fiarchi in the charge to Taylor, and he's going to get a free kick 35 metres out as Chalmers gets set to come back on.
So perhaps he is all right, but Andrew Taylor here sells the dummy. Look, he skates over the ball. Now he just gets connected and goes to ground. He just set up that free kick, Rocky, didn't he?
Yes, he's got enough experience, and the umpire maybe not as much experience as him in that situation.
So Chalmers must be okay. Mead is coming off and Chalmers coming back on. Taylor keeps it very low, but misses offline through for 1 behind. Doesn't add to his score of 2. So they're 8-5 to 4-6, just with the ability, the Woodville-West Torrens Eagles, to keep the Magpies at arm's length.
2 goals, 3, Andrew Taylor.
Delaney, a big kick. Up goes Chalmers. Williams, can he be a hero today? Throw it forward. Did Wakeland? Wasn't seen. Malakelis off the ground. Ball A's. The runner is Spalding. The Maggies from 50. A chance now for Hodges. He punches! 3 grabs. He's paid, or isn't he?
No, it's a free kick. It was against Hodges. He interfered with Spehr. The umpire said it was too high. Now you be the judge. The ball comes in and Hodges is not happy at all. But you watch it. There is an infringement. Hodges comes from behind. Bang, over the top. Clearly a free kick. Got 2 bites of the cherry, but gave away the free kick in doing so. You didn't think so, Rob?
Oh, I'd nearly argue it. He had absolutely nothing but eyes for the footy, but a technical free kick, I'll concede, as Morphett runs over the 50.
Puts it up towards Taylor. Sheldrick's lurking down there as well. A lot of pressure for Roger back into the side today. He missed the preliminary final and is under siege. Pays, shovels it out to Walker. Can't quite get it in the end to Taylor. And that Magpie, her defence, well, they're protecting their nest, but they're having a tough time doing it.
They are, and we should give some thought to Tim Pfeiffer and Richard Williams, the umpires. This sort of pressure is quite rare in the local competition. I mean, this has been going for 2 quarters now, and neither side's let up.
You're saying they haven't done a good job?
No, I think they're under a lot of pressure themselves. I think they're struggling at times to keep control of the game. And the only way to do that is to make judgments every second of the game.
Well, there's been no spite out there. It's just been tough at the football.
Yeah, I think they've kept control pretty well. Remember, Jimmy Pfeiffer has umpired 11 AFL games and 7 finals. He hasn't had a grand final, mind you, but Richard Williams had charge of last year's grand final when the Eagles beat Norwood.
You expect on wet days for it to be tough in close. There's a free kick and Northeast is going to have it. Jack starts to work his way down to the boundary line. He'll feel more at home down there, I'll bet. To the middle of the ground. Stephen Williams lost his feet and just limps away from it as well, so I hope he's not hurt from Port Adelaide's point of view. Here he is back out of the game, diving in over the football. Ball A's. Hands it off. Malakelis, slippery ball, Pedler. Gives some ground. Walker was taken high. Ginever from the ground. Well done, Ball A's. Now they're a chance if they can turn it over, but sitting on the back play doing it well as Hannah. On the up. Pedler from the side of the boot. Darren Smith, they need you to take a mark down there, Darren. He can't quite get to it because Kennedy is so athletic. He loses feet. Spehr, as they work it out, McLeod gets some access to the football. Freeborn drags it back and will have a bounce down at half-back.
Great footy, great pressure. Not sitting too well on the saddle, Bruce Winter, at the moment. I don't think Jack is either.
I know the Eagles lead by 23 points, but this game is finely balanced. If Port Adelaide can just find the emotion that they did late in the first quarter, they could kick a couple of quick ones.
They need to stay at it. They need a goal. Malakelis is caught. He goes to ground. A chance. McLeod. He weaves and dives. He's looking for somebody. Anybody. Short is Spalding. He's got him. 60 metres out. Too far to score. 10 seconds short of time on. No movement in the forward line. They'll sit and wait for it to come in. He lets go with a torpedo that's going to go to the face of the square. Opportunity now for Ginever. In comes Zilla, does well. Pedler there. Rodgers will hold it in. And we'll have another ball up. Time on, second quarter.
Every time Tim Ginever's near the ball in the forward line, one of the Zillas is there to just pick him up and hammer him.
They'll have another goal here, the Maggies. Under a bit of pressure themselves now, the Eagles, but they have that buffer. 23 points in it. Rowan Smith on the back play from centre wing. Camporelli's played well on him so far. And another bounce down. So all squared away. That little break that the Eagles got in that first quarter might be costly. Might just be costly. Pedler. They work it out so well, don't they? Hannum to Pesh. That's what I'm talking about in terms of the structure. Now, the structure's okay, but you just have to get the kicks right. That one's gone out of bounds on the full.
Yes, well, that's just a product of pressure, isn't it? And good work by Port Adelaide. Even players of the class of Pesh are capable of, in these conditions, of making those sorts of errors.
So Paul Northeast, a little unorthodox, still effective though. He gets it up towards the right spot. Jason Ziller, Kennedy. It's all very well for the Magpies to attack at the moment, but they need to put a score on. This is Chalmers. He's thumped away at it and hit the post. Wow, wouldn't that have made a difference? Just offline, a centimetre either way, or in fact preferably to the left, and it would have been a goal. So it's gone along now to 8-5 to 4-6.
Well, that's a let-off, isn't it, for the Eagles? I mean, that's he's kicked that from the golf course. Super kick. Spehr will bring the footy back in. Up towards the 50 he goes. Chalmers again. This is what they need from him. He could dominate this game if he sets his mind to it. In he goes, high. Wakeland, or Borlase it is from the back. Beautifully read off the pack by Kluzak. Cheeky enough to have a bounce in these conditions and sends it to the wing. Carter front position, should be free kick. Off he goes, to advantage is played. Oh, Godson holding the ball surely.
Twice today.
He just ran himself into strife, but beautifully done by Kennedy.
It's a pity, isn't it, because he did everything right and then just made the wrong decision at the wrong time, just as he did in that first quarter when he elected to play on and Taylor was on him.
Kennedy's kick towards half forward. Wakeland and Carter at the back. Free kick, the Magpies. And that's against pace on Hutton. Backward of centre. Oh, the kick's a shocker. Out of bounds, centre wing.
Just doesn't look to be enough league football in David Hutton's legs at the moment. That kick aside has been very quiet throughout the day. Andrew Payes has had the better of him. 5 kicks and 1 handball for Hutton. He's normally a prolific kick gatherer, but just at the moment looks a little out of sorts as the rain starts to come down again. And that ball landed 30 centimetres inside the line.
Yes, forcing it forward and just getting people up underneath it. 22-point advantage, the Eagles. We're into time on, 3 minutes in fact. Throw in half forward for the Eagles. Wakeland to Hutton. They're on half forward, the Magpies. He goes backwards, Freeborn. Confident as you like. He's got support in Rodgers. He won't panic. He kicks towards the centre. Chalmers goes to ground. Camporelli feeds one out. Walker can't. Head down if you like, Timmy. You'll get killed like that. Hutton. Wakeland off the ground. Now a chance. Rowan Smith. Pedler puts the body in. Borlase loses it. Slick as you like, Kluzak. Walker in space as Rowan Smith challenges him and the siren goes. The Eagles by 22 points at half-time in the 94 grand final.
Well, just the same margin, so some seesawing work throughout that term. And it's finished up at 22 points, just as it was at quarter time. Interesting to see the different game plans and the way they approach the game at the moment. Sam Philippou coming off just behind Bruce Winter, who'd be relatively content at the moment, I would think. But those differing game plans are that in these wet conditions, the Eagles elect to maintain possession. They pick the ball up, they use the reflex. They're still prepared to use their hands, back themselves in. Port Adelaide, head down, tail up. They kick it from the ground, they barrel it forward. They try and do all of the hard things at the moment, but it's still squared away as it was at quarter time in terms of 22 points. So at half-time in the 94 grand final, the Eagles are 8-5. Port Adelaide are 4-7, 22 points in it. And as always, the action with you throughout South Australia and the Northern Territory on ABC Sport.
You're watching the 1994 SANFL Grand Final on your ABC. So welcome back to Football Park. Still 22 points the margin. Port Adelaide gave it their all in that quarter, Neville, and the Eagles just held on.
Yes, well, I asked Stephen Trigg early in that quarter what he would have said if he was John Cahill at quarter time, and he said back to basics, simple things, and that's exactly what Port Adelaide did. They manned up, they got numbers to the footy, they attacked the body, and they worked like crazy to get it forward, and they did very, very well. Stephen Williams sort of led the way on the forward line. Rowan Smith got quite a few touches, and Chalmers back on the ground made a real difference. But to their credit, the Eagles, they withstood all of that and maintained their 22-point lead at half-time.
And Neville, the quality of the footy is fantastic despite the fact it's been wet.
Yes, they've made a mockery of these conditions here at Football Park. The oval's drained beautifully though, and it looks an absolute picture. It will probably have more rain. We thought it would be to Port Adelaide's advantage, but to date we couldn't really say that.
All right, let's check the quarter by quarters. 6-2, 38 to 2-4, 16 at quarter time, and it's half-time. It's 8-5, 53 to 4-7. 31 in the margin, 22 points in the 1994 SANFL Grand Final.
For the Eagles, Morphett has 3, Taylor 2, Pesh, Nickel and Walker 1 each, and the Magpies a string of 1s, Ginever, Pedler, Hodges. And the stats, well, not much in the kicks. The marks, no margin there to really speak of. The handballs well and truly in favour of the Eagles, and the hitouts in favour of Port Adelaide. Also, 8 more free kicks, and I guess you could say that Port Adelaide, you'd argue that they've been a bit lucky, given that the Eagles have done all the basic things like play in front, and they probably should have had more free kicks themselves at the moment.
Well, Michael Oce's on the boundary. Michael, what about that goal from Pesh, and then a couple of minutes later, a terrific tackle on Spalding?
Yes, it was, Mark, and that's exactly what you have to do in finals. Desperation wins finals, and reputations are won or lost, particularly in finals and grand finals, and both sides really doing the reputations very good.
And Michael, Port Adelaide trying to do something in that forward line. They've had Mead and Chalmers on and off the ground. He shifted Darren Smith and Hodges around at half forward, Pedler to full forward. For a while there, it looked like it was going to work, but they steadied down the Eagles, didn't they? And they took it over again late in that quarter.
Yes, that's right. They've got plenty of options, Port, as do the Eagles, and really they might think about leaving Mead and Chalmers on the ground at this stage. Mead's done pretty well, and Chalmers also is a big, strong player, as we saw in that particular quarter there, kicking 50, 60 metres.
Yes, and Williams, having, I said earlier in the game, would be an important player for Port Adelaide, particularly as an opportunist goal sneak, and that goal he got in the second quarter was an absolute beauty, wasn't it?
It was a terrific goal, and I heard the commentators say, Stephen and David and yourself, that with Williams and Hodges firing, they can get back into this, but I guess, as you were saying to me off air, they need more from a lot more players, don't they?
Yes, they do. He's cut size to pieces, Stephen Williams. He's so valuable to them, and I'm glad he's playing in this particular game. He's 33 years of age, but he's still capable of contributing a lot more.
What about this goal of Pesh? Terrific goal from about 45 metres, just curling back.
Yes, he's one of those players, along with the Zillas and so on, that just have to be picked up, and to let him loose and give him space like that in their forward line, where you can see what he can do. He's a class act.
Been pretty tough too, hasn't it, with Ginever and also Zilla? Have a look at this.
It's Ginever, he likes to put his head down and go straight through the packs. On this occasion, he collected one, and he's Stephen Zilla just fronting him up, but he gets up and has no trouble going on.
And what about this? Was this a mark to Scotty Hodges?
In my opinion, a technical free kick in a game like this, you'd let it go, you'd pay the mark.
All set to go now for the second half of the 1994 SANFL Grand Final. The Eagles lead by 22 points. Can they hang on, or can Port Adelaide get up and win? Here's Stephen Trigg.
Right on cue for the bounce. Tim Pfeiffer holds it up for the second 60 minutes. Port Adelaide looking for their 32nd premiership, and the Eagles looking for back-to-back. We'll know soon enough just who's going to be the victor. Not taken away by Spalding. He's well wrapped up, and the sun once again is shining on Football Park.
And at ground level, Stephen, I can share with you that it is very wet and very slippery down there. It doesn't look like it from up here, but it's going to be extraordinarily difficult for the players to grab an easy ball.
Rowan Smith, important first 10 minutes of this third quarter. If Port Adelaide can get a couple, it'll make a world of difference. But they need to do that. Conversely, if the Eagles get away to a good start, they'll really take some reeling back in. Mead, Rodgers around the body towards centre wing. Carter's held up okay, despite the fact that Morphett kicked 3 early in the game, and he's seen it to the line on the far side.
Listen, and John Cahill, he's got Hodges back at full forward, Smith at centre half forward. He's gone back to his original lineup, and hopefully the nerves have settled and they're able to make their game plan what they thought it was and what they discussed during the week. An opportunity now for Zilla, number 8. Jason type. Northeast leads the ball. Walker puts it to ground. Fiarchi there as well. Spalding goes in over the top of it. And Mead, they get it away though, finally. The umpire just let it go, and that's good work by them. Rogers goes to ground, holding the ball, scream the crowd. And the umpire just balled up. 53 plays, 31, 22 points. Andrew Rogers, ex-Geelong player, now Eagle, member of last year's premiership team as well. Quick hands to Walker, but the Williams interferes with it. Smith, Kennedy gets it knocked down. Malakellis, he's in space. Hodges on a lead. In his back, surely. Play on's the call. Bit tough.
Well, it's the way finals footballs are. Now, you be the judge. Did he infringe in the back? Well, he fell away from Hodges. I think that was the thing that saved him, wasn't it?
Yes, I think the replay straightened that out. No free kick.
Ginever round the body. Well done, Freeborn. There's been a revelation in the back pocket throughout the second half, particularly of this year.
He's kept Simon Neve out of the back pocket. That's something to do.
Not a lot of possessions, but certainly has been effective. Wakeman, spectacular across the top. David Hutton, rare touch for him. Up towards the full forward line. Hodges, come on, Scotty, they need you to do something special down there. Well taken by Spehr. Flees the scene very quickly. Lifts the eyes, decides the best option is on the far side of the ground, but in shorter was Carter. Kept the play on it. Well done, Ginever. Stephen Williams, get down and take it, Stephen. Now he can, but he's set upon. Such is the Eagles' pressure. It is magnificent again in the first part of this third quarter. Filippo, one hand down, couldn't take it. Fiarchi, well done. Nice little sidestep torpedo punt, and it's a free kick down the ground.
Against Kluzak for too high.
So they're a chance now from around about 45 metres out. Borlase perhaps does not have the most penetrative kick in the side, but he's a very experienced player. He'll know just where to put it. Brilliant sunshine at Football Park. Second half of the 94 grand final. What's Daisy done? Yes, sir. So Port Adelaide are a chance. 8-5 to 5-7. Borlase gets his first, and we're just 3.5 minutes into the third quarter.
He's had an unusual year, Daisy Borlase, interrupted by a severe groin injury. Really restricted his movements mid-season. But later in the year, his form's been quite outstanding. He hasn't had a big final series, but he's one of the players that Port Adelaide need to lift from if they're to get back into this match.
The Eagles are 53, Port Adelaide are 37. Every time they've played this year, the margins have been no less than 42 points. So if Port Adelaide can get close to them, the pressure will certainly fall back on the Eagles, and it might be a truer test of both teams. Spalding high, in front Spehr, McLeod, hands and knees. Borlase there as well. Desperate work by the Eagles as Swartz and Freeborn take the ball to ground 20 metres in front of the Magpie goals. And if you reckon there are some fanatics out there, have a look at Junior. Half black, half white. Pretty keen on his Maggies. 4 minutes in, third quarter, the 94 grand final. Neiman, a chance for Borlase. Keeps it tight, under pressure. Around the corner goes McLeod. Square. How could that Spehr?
Well, he was just superior. There's very few people that you can say are stronger than Scotty Hodges in a one-on-one contest. He just pushed Scotty Hodges away, and that's rarely done.
I agree with that entirely. It needs Scotty to lift. To the front it comes. To Carter. Runs into a wall of players. Hands it back. One step. Thumps it up there. That's Wakeman. Right up towards the full forward line. Several hands on the football, and again Spehr. In the crisis, keeps a very cool head. He gets Vice-Captain Rogers. Now Andrew Pays towards centre wing. Sheldrick looks to put the fist into it, but Wakeman was very good.
Played very well, hasn't he? I think he's had the upper hand against Filippo.
Short to Mead, and once again Chalmers not on the ground at the moment. Stephen Williams. What an important role he's playing. Awkward looking kick towards half forward. Camporelli, magnificent hand, Scotty. That ball was floating all over the place, and he just took it clean as a whistle. Back towards centre wing. And Stephen Ziller. So a counter-attack from the Eagles. A chance to build something. They're one out. Delaney comes out with Taylor. One hand to it from Andrew. Decided against the kick in the end. Gives some ground. Now Roger will set upon him. So too Taylor. He'll go for holding the ball, and he does.
He was looking for support, Taylor. Stephen Ziller was close by. Pesh was as well, but they just couldn't get there to give him the support that he needed.
Good work by the Port Adelaide experienced duo. Oh, not such a good kick from Mark Tyler. Oh, look at that for a leap. In the end, it was a free kick for hands too high on the shoulder.
Umpire Richard Williams said that as Camporelli flew, he put the hands in the back and infringed against Stephen Williams. Now, in those situations, if you take the mark, they give it to you. If you don't take the mark, it's a free kick.
Pedler off the ground. And Olsen on. Kennedy fumbles. Swartz too. Camporelli with courage. And you've got to pay a big compliment to the Eagles' defence. Been pretty steady back there today. They've been under plenty of pressure in the last quarter and a half. They've stood up well. Mead comes flying in. Smith beautifully smothered Swartz. A chance for Williams, head down, tackled by Hannum, and there's no quarter given either side.
And Neville, you see that smother by Peter Swartz, the Eagles skipper. As late last night, he was doubtful for this match. He had to pass a fitness test. Nobody was certain that he'd front up, but his game today has been terrific, given that he's only just made the fitness deadline.
Mead to Borlase. That certainly didn't carry 10. Thumped forward. Ginever. High amongst Port Adelaide's best. Well done, Freeborn. He backed himself to Kluzak. Look at that for a little pirouette and still got through, just through to Neiman. One step. Well done, Stephen Williams. He's doing all of the hard work at the moment. Olsen. Through goes Spalding. Keep at it, Scotty. You're still a chance. He gets hold of Zilla. Falls into the arms now of Kluzak. Only as far as Mead couldn't quite control it. Well done by Jason Zilla. To Camporelli. Not quite to Pesh. This is a very critical time of the game. Northeast. Fiacci. Cool in the crisis as well. Towards centre wing he goes. Olsen's just come onto the ground to replace Pedler. Zilla. Here's Olsen. One snare and you're away. Can't quite. Neiman. What about this for a pressure-packed piece of play? Spalding. Handballs it forward. Freeborn works back. Darren Smith lined him up from 15 metres. He was going to have a piece of that. Still the ball is live. Schwartz. Olsen is there. For goodness sake, find the line and give us a breather. Over it goes.
It's a free kick. Free kick. You're dead right, Rocky. It was a push in the back against Olsen on Schwartz.
Silly piece of play.
Undisciplined.
So, very tight out there at the moment. And one thinks that Port Adelaide would be very, very disillusioned if they weren't to get the next goal. They've worked so hard. So have the Eagles, though, as Kluzak sends them forward again. Great catch, Tyler, man on man against Filippo.
I was just thinking, you know, that with Scott Hodges being eclipsed at the moment, maybe Tyler, not a bad option down the front.
I suggested that in the second semi-final. It didn't happen. I think Johnny Cahill's going to go with Scotty Hodges.
Mead and Smith is beautiful football by the Magpies. Now they're a chance. They'll get it over the 50. A loose runner inside is Williams. A chance now after disposal. I don't believe it.
Well, champions come good when they're needed, don't they? And this bloke is a champion, make no mistake about that.
I did not see where he came from. What a super effort.
Now, my point about Tyler was to put him alongside of Hodges. Would you take that as an explanation just 30 seconds later?
I'd accept that. Well, it's not a bad move either, really, if you think about it. They worked successfully earlier in the year.
Hodges from 25 has missed. And if you'd asked me if I wanted to have money on it, you would have got a fair bit off me.
Yeah, you'd have got that. Now, talking about Mark Tyler, he kicked 6 goals, 1 in the first game against Central, 5 goals, 2 in the second game against South, playing alongside Scotty Hodges. They were a good foil. Then mid-year, John Cahill decided that Tyler wasn't working and sent him back to the defence, and he plugged a hole in defence and has stayed there since.
Jason Spehr, searching kick, Darren Smith. Camporelli, little touch of class from one so young. Game number 15, Rodgers, Neiman. From the inside of the boot, it finds the boundary line.
So at half-time, we talked about, as Chapman looks to come on the ground, we talked about Cahill asking for more from his players and whether they could give it. At the moment, Port Adelaide are giving more. They just haven't got the rewards for their pressure.
So Morphett's the player that's coming off. A man who's been in the action in the first quarter, much quieter in the second, not seen much of it in the third either. And again, it finds the boundary line. So the Eagles probably make 40 metres out of that. 8-5 to 5-8. A little bit of symmetry about that scoreboard. We're 10.5 minutes in. And what an important kick from Hodges. Just missed. Zilla. Sheldrick couldn't quite get it through. Borlase is unobtrusive but very effective as one of the catalysts. Well done by Pays. He took a dive. Umpire didn't get called in for that one. Not a bad decision either. Carter barnstorms his way through. Stood his ground well, did Wakeland. Chapman, first kick for him. Big trouble for Port Adelaide. There's a number of players down there at the moment if they can get it free. Filippo. Zilla.
Great pressure, good football, the Maggies.
Well, North East has been here before. North East knows what grand finals are all about. He's played in a couple. In fact, he's played in 3. This is his 4th.
And how about Pesh taking that bump and still controlling the footy? You won't see much better than this. Borlase loses sight. Camporelli caught by Smith. Free kick. Eagles.
It was against Borlase, off the ball.
And to take it, Stephen Ziller.
I like the spunk in this kid. Honestly, he's got a real ton of cheek in him, Camporelli. Hardly played a handful of senior games, and he's taking it right up to Rowan Smith, who's played, what, 200.
Hot AFL property as he puts it in long. Taylor with a chance. They go to ground. Mead loses sight of the ball. He was attached to Taylor, and Taylor says, how long can he hang on to a jumper for? And the question's well asked. He had hold of him. It's holding the man.
Dead right, wasn't he? Bruce Winter not showing any emotion. John Cahill just ages before your very eyes in a big match like this.
North East works hard. Malakellis, they do it well with Borlase. Close to the boundary line. Kluzak at the back. A chance now for Rodgers. Well done. That was Hannum, in fact. Put it up high. Magpies have got the sit. They get the spoil, and they've got the crumb. You want to get rid of it, lad. Smith. Tight as you like. Oh, Camporelli nearly went to Venus then. And it's out of bounds.
And McLeod took out Jason Spehr behind play as well. That Eagle fan didn't like it.
Well, you'd expect to see it in the grand final, but this, singularly, is some of the toughest football you'll ever see. Spalding in over the ball. It's not high scoring by any means, but down on boundary side, those bodies are clashing fearsomely into one another.
It's not spiteful, is it? It's just tough.
Everyone's got a mind for the ball, and you'd be dragged off if you didn't.
13 minutes gone in the 3rd quarter. Port Adelaide need the next one if there to be a chance, I reckon. Up it goes towards Smith. Now there may be a chance. Stephen Williams. He's got one spare in Ginever. You need a one take, Stephen. Just gets around in time, puts it in towards the space. Timmy turns around, looks into the sun. Couldn't take it. Well done, Kennedy. Oh, they're cool back there, the firm, aren't they? And away goes Rodgers, brings it towards half-back flank. Rowan Smith snares it, picks up, drives it in now towards the forward line. Olsen a chance. Still the sunshine is there, the spoil. Smith, Ginever, Spalding nowhere to go, and he's caught dead cold and gone for holding the ball.
Yes. But the Eagles fans were calling for a free kick for too high, but he ducked his head. Watch, he just went down when he knew Taylor was there, and Taylor just claimed him and won the free.
There's the Eagles full forward, well and truly down the ground. Pesh, and the runner is Swart. So the Eagles steal the footy.
Taylor's gone to centre half forward. Filippo to full forward. That's the move.
Sheldrick back to Swartz. They're inside 50, but Delaney should catch it. He puts it down. Gets the handball wide. He's got Borlase. Fiarchi. Now Delaney again. They steady. And Hutt over the top. Now they're a chance. Spalding. Hodges slips over. The ball goes towards him. Who's quicker? McLeod as it goes to the boundary line. Can he keep it in? Just, but only for the Eagles. Spehr. Twists and turns. Cool as you like. Freeborn. Oh, caught. Play on. McLeod. This is Olsen, I should say. Inside. Hutton. High. Smith. Camporelli up. Should have stayed down. A chance for Williams. He needs help. He's got Smith. Controls it. Rowan Smith. If he can get around. Trip. Professional free kick. Smart move, Camporelli. Advantage. And butchers the footy. Should have taken the free kick, in my opinion.
Difficult to know, isn't it? John Cahill, I could suggest, has told them to play on at every opportunity. And I think that's one of the things that's getting themselves back into this game. They now trail by 14 points. They were down 22 points at quarter time and at half time, and they are playing on at every opportunity. The difference is that Scott Hodges is physically attacking people and holding the ball in the forward zone.
Well, this is sensational. I just wonder, you know, I love seeing the rules stay the same, but I wonder if you got 25 metres for a trip whether you'd see so many players do it. Deliberately, as it were. Spalding from the ground. Here's Chapman in the long sleeves. Attacks the football. Gives some ground. There's a whole lot of blue jumpers back there now. Borlase is the only one who can provide some pressure. Oh, and in the absence of the pressure, Kluzak's turned it over. So the spirit of the occasion just causing some problems. Roger Delaney runs alongside of the boundary. You better be on the bungee cord, Roger, and get back to full back and pick someone up. Darren Smith. Spoiled forward, Freeborn, shovels it forward, looked like a throw. Stephen Williams, deft touch. Well done now by Olsen. McLeod, big chance, and I think, speaking of butchered it, he has missed. He has. One behind only 8-5 to 5-10. What a costly error.
Well, Scott Hodges was there at full forward telling him. D. Smith's coming off with a bloodied nose, mind you, for attention. And coming on Chalmers. Will he go to centre half forward?
So Hodges misses from 20, McLeod misses from 14, or 15 metres I should say, and they're only 13 points behind.
And Rowan Smith.
And Rowan Smith from about 25, a bad angle though. Cash Chapman, now Kennedy, they go through the centre of the ground. On a lead is Filippo. He's missed it, play on's the call. A chance for Wakeman, he's got space, but look at Zilla come at him like a rocket. Beautiful play by the Eagles rover.
Now, I don't know whether you saw that, but Stephen Zilla just came in and applied the tackle on Wakeman. Now, Wakeman looked like he was going to have a go at Stephen Zilla. Now, 30 yards away, Jason Zilla came from nowhere when they thought his brother was going to be in trouble.
It was good umpiring as well, because could easily have been in the back. Umpire called a play on. He's found a free kick now, though.
Andrew Taylor, physical pressure, came at Northeast and intimidated him, and Northeast just threw it up in the air.
So Andrew Taylor has 2-3. Important kick. Northeast not paying any attention on the mark, very undisciplined. And Taylor has hit the post. Well, I can tell you something, that when you kick for goals, if the man on the mark is doing acrobatic feats, it does just detract your attention. And Paul Northeast just elected to be very lazy on it, so very poorly played.
They work it out from full back. Fiarchi, arguably one of their best today, has done a good job. Spalding in front, 2 catches, play on. Hutton, his legs are still well, he's taken it back. Well, he didn't have control of the footy, and I think Richard Williams was right to do that, because if he'd fumbled the footy, it would have been to Port's advantage. Scotty Spalding, 9 and 4, asking for somebody, do something, no movement. McLeod goes, and that's the way he goes. He's sitting back though. Rodgers has taken front position and almost the catch. He put it down. Malakellis, they are getting to the crumb. Ball lays and Williams. Oh, can he do the impossible? The 33-year-old into the goals. He missed it. Oh, he'd love that one in his career. He'd have traded 50 for that one.
I think he did right. The oldest man on the field playing a bottler has gone into the forward pocket, or half forward perhaps. They're trying to spare his legs. Just try and pick up who's gone into the centre. Spalding's in the centre. Chapman's picking him up. So the moves are being run.
Chalmers into the ruck. Mead, it would seem, towards centre half forward, being picked up by Kennedy. Middle of the ground. Here's Chalmers. Not a lot of zest or effervescence about him at the moment. Maybe there is an injury problem. Around the body from Kennedy. Kruzek paddles it forward. Taylor, quick kick, wasn't bad either. 2-on-1 again. Big trouble, Mark Taylor. Big trouble, because Jason Zella's got a great tackle. Wakeman, a great tackle. There's still a chance though. The Eagles comes to Stephen Zilla, and the Jack Cahill medalist from last year's nailed it through first.
And that's why they're so difficult to beat the Eagles. You get one of them, they upended Taylor at centre half. A half volley, bang to Taylor. He's upended, still gets away a kick. Now, good work comes here from Jason Zilla. Handballs it on. Filippo's taken by Wakeman. Jason Zilla's there, Sheldrick's there, Filippo's there, Stephen Zilla's there, the numbers were there. Port Adelaide were just overpowered with numbers.
Beautiful work. I don't know about you, but I'm nearly out of breath. That ball's gone up in the centre again. 60 plays 41, back to 21 points. They can't crack it to reduce this margin. McLeod now puts it in high, the wrong way. Malakellis, beautifully done. It's got to be paid.
He's terrific overhead, isn't he, Tony Malakellis, for a little fella?
Yes, he is. Eyes for the ball only, and the sun in his eyes going the wrong way. 5 and 7. Had a hard day. The Zillas and Peshes of this world have made it that way for him, chasing tails. A chance now to ease the pressure again, or create the pressure on the Eagles, if you like. 25, difficult angle. He won't do it. A chance at the back for Hodges. He needs help. Tries to sell the dummy. Spehr plays it beautifully as he turns it around. That's their 5th point for the quarter. And you might say that they've had their opportunities, Port Adelaide, this quarter to have been well and truly square.
There has been some doubt, hasn't there, about Scott Hodges' fitness throughout this final. He's dispelled that today. He's attacked every ball hard. He's gone right at it. Jason Spehr's done a terrific job blanketing him.
Kennedy brings it back in. Free kick. Half-back, Stuart Nicol just came onto the ground to replace David Neiman. And he'll get it at half-back. So the Eagles had those talons extended and sharpened early in the game. The Magpies are clawing their way back into it at the moment. Well done, Wakeland. Couldn't quite take it. Sweating off was Tyler, or was it Chalmers? Chalmers sinks the boot into the ball, but it goes from one end of the ground at the moment to the other. Nickel into the arms of Pesh, just dropped it back a gear. I'm sure that Ginever would love to have cleaned him up there. He pulled out at the last moment. Sheldrick from the ground, gets it on the up. Not a bad piece of work either to Zilla. Has a look at them. And it's hit the post.
Margalage, it's heartbreaking, isn't it? They have all the play, Port Adelaide, and the Eagles take it up and score. Margalage on the boundary line. Have we got you?
Yes, Neville.
Yes, I'm just saying, isn't it? It's heartbreaking, isn't it, that Port Adelaide kicked 5 points. They've had every opportunity to have squared the game away, and the Eagles into their forward line once and score a goal.
Well, that's right. That's what normally happens. But Port have certainly lifted their intensity and playing the better footy, much more desperate than the Eagles at the moment.
Schwarz, Mead, far side. Another chance for Port Adelaide. They're inside their half-forward line. Kennedy pushes it forward. Just knew that Nickel was there. Peter Schwarz. Round the body, but Chalmers on the back play. You know, I just cannot understand why he hasn't played the full game at the moment. That kick travels 60 metres. Beautifully done by Olsen.
I thought he was going to play him in the back. He certainly gave him a nudge. No, his timing was terrific. It's all in the timing, isn't it? It's just a little tiny one. He came up with the arms as he was about to take the mark. I think Olsen was even a bit frightened. The umpire might have taken it off him.
So Troy Olsen in game number 20. Big kick. Big time kick. Hit the post. Well, you can point to some turning points in this game. That's not going to be one of them because it was just several centimetres off target.
1 goal 6 to 1 goal 2 Port Adelaide this term against the Eagles.
And if my memory serves me correct, I think both sides have hit the post twice. So can't claim bad luck as Spehr kicks it out. Rodgers with the sit and takes it easily. Nobody in his path. Schwarz is the runner. He's got Taylor to go for, or Kluzak. Taylor's the target. Plays with it, tucks it under. Walker's a run-up. Pays is wide. And they send it in long. The Eagles, beautifully done, Tyler. Got the job on Filippo at the moment. Gives off to Fiarchi. This is Carter. He plays on quickly. Malakelis needs support. Carter gives it to him. Offers the run along the wing. And the kick is poor. Goes straight to a nest of Eagles. Schwarz over the top. Beautifully weighted handball to Pays. Carter's there with him. Hutton as well. Nowhere to go except over the boundary line. And if you talk about pressure and you want to show somebody what pressure is in a game of football, you get this tape out of your closet. It's a beauty.
Jack Cahill made his desire known to get some of the old-timers back in. Northeast, Mead and Hutton. A couple of them have worked. Fiarchi, speaking of old-timers, left leg back towards half-forward. Got a problem there at the moment, Port Adelaide. They can't effectively and efficiently get through there. Fiarchi with 14 kicks and 2 handballs has repelled a number of Eagles attacks. This is exclusively with ABC Sport, the 1994 SANFL Grand Final. Hope you're enjoying it wherever you're watching throughout this state or indeed the Northern Territory. A special mention to our viewers in Darwin. Hope you're enjoying it. Ginever. From the ground went Borlase. Malakelis. He's lifted his rating, Tony Malakelis, and Peter Schwarz finds the sanctuary of the line underneath the scoreboard that reads 9-7 to 5-13.
As Pedler prepares to come onto the ground, Scotty Morphett sits with David Neiman, and he's having his driver, Mazak, there. He copped a heavy one in the first quarter after kicking 3 goals. And he'd be very happy with that effort, but would much rather be out of there. We're into time on as Walker sends it forward. Williams ducks, play on's the call. Puts it in high, and it's all the Eagles. Well, their defence has been absolutely superb, and I'm on this occasion in no hurry. 61 plays, 43, the Eagles lead.
They just need something more, don't they? I wonder whether Tyler is not the man. Put him down there alongside of Scott. I know it hasn't worked that often before, but Tyler's in good form.
It's not a bad suggestion. He needs something because they just haven't got enough goal kickers at the moment. The Eagles foul up a defensive action, but wouldn't be disappointed to see it out of bounds. And Pedler, as I said earlier, ready to come on, has kicked 1 goal in the second quarter, and the Port runner just waiting for the opportune time. I suggested it'd probably be Mead, Chance Hannam. Port Adelaide stands still. Rowan Smith, Kenny from 50. Have a look across the face of goal. And the Eagles again, stout in defence. Olsen off the ground, Pedler on.
Yes, Olsen's the man, and that suggestion about a change up into the full forward line. Now they've just swapped earlier in the term, they've swapped back again, so Jack's looking for something. He knows that that's the area that's letting him down at the moment. They've got enough entries into the forward line, but they're not getting a good enough return. Just may need to be a little more imaginative than that at the moment. Mind you, one of the principles of football is that you leave winners in their positions. And Tyler's a winner at the moment. Well done by Delaney. He was flanked by Chalmers on the starboard side, knew that he was there, used him. Well done now by Taylor. Props, puts it up there. They're under enormous pressure. Magnificent mark by North East. They were thundering at him, weren't they? And he just stood his ground.
He knew they were coming all right, but he had to stay there. And that's what they need. Plenty of courage, but they don't need this. The runners and the crummers are all with the Eagles. As Stephen Zilla sends them into attack, he looks for his brother Jason, beautifully intercepted by Delaney. He's in the back pocket, the kick is good and it finds David Hutton. Off he goes with that traditional run. They need a catch at half forward. Oh, beautifully done by Stewie Nicol, whose finals performances have been excellent. Backward of centre, sinks the left boot into it, North East again. They trample down on top of him, he takes front position. Pesh has got the crumb, gives it up to Sheldrick, goes back to Walker, Carter's got him. Oh, stolen beautifully inside by Kluzak. This is Pesh, short to Camporelli is good. Rowan Smith's got him, he handles it cleverly, tried to get the free kick. North East cleans up and they're out of the problem with Spalding under the footy.
Beautifully weighted kick by North East. Now Spalding tracks inside to the heart of Football Park, around the body on the left leg. He had McLeod out the corner of the eye. And once again, this Eagles defence is quite magnificent. Was that holding the ball? Yes, sir. Well done by Pedler. Beautiful chase. Played it on to Rowan Smith in short. That's more positive. And they've got Stephen Williams 40 metres out.
You see what I mean about that play on at every opportunity? That's exactly what Port Adelaide have been doing since half-time, and it's worked for them. Now Mead comes off, D. Smith comes back, presumably to centre half forward.
Beautiful foot pass. Nicely taken by Stephen Williams. Now these legs will be tired. Hasn't played for a couple of weeks, getting close to the man on the mark, has a look at them. Comes back beautifully with the breeze. Well done, Stephen, you little champion. Right on the siren at three-quarter time. Valuable goal for Port Adelaide, 9-7 to 6-13. Well, what a great quarter of football. One of the best 30 minutes of football you could wish to see.
2 goals, 6 Port Adelaide kicked that turn. The Eagles could only manage 1 goal, 2, and I think this pendulum might well have swung back Port Adelaide's way. They've got midfielders working. In fact, the Eagles have made a change. They've brought Chapman back into the centre to try and swing the balance back from midfield. Kluzak hasn't been picking up the possessions that he was. Williams is starting to dominate. Chalmers is having an effect, and so too is Mead. So Port Adelaide at three-quarter time are well and truly poised to come from behind and snatch this game.
Yes, they certainly are. 12 points in it. It's all set for a magnificent last quarter in the 1994 SANFL Grand Final. Stay with us on ABC Sport.
You're watching the 1994 SANFL Grand Final on your ABC. 22 points at quarter time, 22 points at half time, 12 points now. It's getting tight, isn't it?
I'm exhausted. I don't think I can keep it up for another quarter. It's just one of the classics, isn't it? Port Adelaide have made it a classic just by their industry in that third quarter. I didn't think they'd have the legs to do what they did in that third quarter. And when you think about it, you know, Hodges, McLeod and Williams all missed goals, which you'd back them in for. Also Rowan Williams, and they could have easily stolen the lead in that quarter. And I don't think the Eagles even predicted that they'd have that much in them.
Well, a man who I'm sure is enjoying it is on the boundary line, Michael Aish.
Yes, Mark, and it's pretty cold down here, I can tell you that. But Port Adelaide are playing sensational footy. They've got the momentum in that third term, and I think the Eagles might be a little bit worried in ruck when Nichols in the centre square is not really jumping at the ball and into the play, and they really need to get Neiman back in there to give them some body strength and give them a little bit more momentum. And also Sam Philippo not having one of his best days, and full credit to Wakeland to start with, now on Tyler, who's doing a great job. So the Eagles, well, they'd want to bounce back. It's anyone's game, 12 points in it, and Jack Cahill would be asking for a fantastic effort by the Magpies just to show that strength and that character that is Port Adelaide. And Bruce Winter, of course, well, he'd be asking for that, exactly the same thing. He'd want to lift from some of his on-ballers, in particular Kluzig and Pesh and Pays, who's dropped out of it to a certain extent at this stage. So all's in readiness for a fabulous last quarter.
Michael, that was a beautiful soliloquy. Could you go on for us? Mate, just I take your point, but Mead did a fantastic job. They did lift Port Adelaide, and particularly Ginever and Malakellis, who's just started to get to the crumbs, and they made life very, very difficult for the Zillas and the Peshers of the world. But I thought they were just a little, I know there was pressure, but they were a bit unlucky. They were offline that quarter, Port Adelaide.
Well, without a doubt, I think that if Port Adelaide had kicked straight, they would be well in the. Well, they're in the game, but they'd be in front at this stage. So that's a part of football, and they had all the play in that quarter. And Malakellis and Ginever, as you said, are playing great footy. They're tough, hard. They've been there, great guns. And Tim Ginever has been captain courageous this year for Port Adelaide.
Well, I just get the feeling, Michael and Neville, that as has already been said, Port Adelaide have had a wonderful chance in this quarter to have wrapped things up, or to at least have gone into three-quarter time in front.
Well, I think there's no doubt that my only worry that they might run out of legs. Stephen Williams, as I said to you earlier, he's the player that could probably change the fortunes of their forward line, because he is so experienced, and he missed a couple of goals that Stephen Williams might otherwise get. But he's been an important player for them and will continue to be an important player.
Yes, and what about Zilla? Have a look at this.
Yes, well, both the Zilla brothers are just, they're like rockets. They just keep going at anything all the time. They're always at the bottom of the pack. They're always at the first give. That was a great tackle by Wakeland. But then again, the numbers of the Eagles, too strong, and the weight with them.
Some outstanding highlights there. It has been a classic grand final. There's no doubt about that. And bang, straight through the middle from Stephen Zilla. Let's check the quarter by quarters. 22 points at quarter time, 22 points at half time. The margin now 12 points, 9-7 to 6-13.
Goal scorers for the Eagles. Well, Morphett has 3, Taylor 2, Pesh Zilla at Stephen Zilla and Nickel 1. And for the Magpies, Williams with 2, Pedler, Ginever, Borlase and Hodges 1 each. And the stats, well, Port Adelaide, that quarter was very important to them. They got ahead on the kicks, more marks. The Eagles, a lot more handballs. The free kicks still favour Port Adelaide. And the hit-outs, with Mead having such a great quarter, they've taken the lead there by 9.
And both sides have got to where they are, Neville, without a centre-half forward, with Darren Smith and also Sam Filippo.
Yes, they have, and that's the extraordinary thing. Hodges in screen. Michael, with a hard finals program behind them, have they got the legs to go on with the same sort of pressure this quarter?
Well, I think they have. They've got a sniff, Neville, and the character of the Port Adelaide Football Club has always shone through for well over 100 years, and it's anyone's game, and you never write Port Adelaide off.
Would you tip them from here, Michael? You've played in grand finals against them.
Well, it's hard to tip in these particular situations. I'm not really game to pick anyone at this stage. We'll go right down to the wire.
Not quite as longer answer there from Michael Ash. Neville, before we kick off with the last quarter, who's your tip?
I'm going to stay with the Eagles just simply because I think they're exhausted, Port Adelaide. It's been a super effort. I just don't think they can go on with that massive endurance they showed in the third quarter.
I'm with Super Sid. I think the Eagles can win it. Let's now cross to Stephen Trigg for the last quarter of the 1994 SANFL Grand Final. Port Adelaide and the Eagles.
So a huge roar goes up for the start of the last 30 minutes of this big grand final. 12 points in it. And if I can be melodramatic, I reckon the breeze is worth a couple, and Port Adelaide have got it. So it's all up to the desire aspect at the moment. Here's Northeast at halfback. Well, we're all set. That was one of the best 30 minutes of football, that third quarter, that you would ever wish to see. Borlase up over the top, couldn't take it. They need a little spark through half forward. Jason Zilla. Ginever. I can tell you something, Ginever has been the Port Adelaide wake-up call. He's put on the alarm whenever they've needed it. Darren Smith. Pressure told and turned it over. Freeborn, Scott Camporelli. There's not a lot of him. And that kick wasn't altogether flash either. Fell into the arms of Wakeland. Superb rebounding work from halfback. Just cleared the head of a couple of flyers, and the Eagles clean it up, and they come back towards centre wing. Port Adelaide there in numbers. Paul Northeast has justified his selection back in the side a couple of weeks ago. He gets it to Rowan Smith. Awkward looking kick. If they can get one here, it'll make a world of difference. Here's Scotty. Listen to the roar.
Well, we talked about the players required to lift. One of them was Stephen Williams, who had 9 kicks and 3 handballs during the third quarter. The other one emerging with a mark in the opening seconds of this final term, Scotty Hodges. 1 goal, 2. He has had a couple of opportunities to kick goals.
Well, 514 career goals. This is one of his most important kicks ever. That goal umpire, I can tell you, hasn't moved a muscle. Scotty's got his second. The grand final's alive. 6 points in it. 9-7 plays 7-13. We're a minute and a half into the last quarter.
Clearly he's fit today. He's attacked the ball. He's attacked the player with the ball. And he's attacked bodies when they've been anywhere near a teammate. This time he comes charging out One of the rare occasions he's beaten Spehr for pace, and in the finish took it on the chest, if you don't mind. And look at the kick. Very few players have this power. 55 out, directly in front, and it goes like an arrow.
61 plays 55. This is sensational. Great game of footy. Smith goes forward. Malakellis, the half volley. Freeborn's there as well. Plenty of pressure. All players would be concerned about mistakes now. They've got to be so in touch and on top of their emotions. Chapman has a good look and steers it beautifully for Jason Ziller.
Looming as one of the best.
Yes, he's going to have a good look at the Jack Cahill medal. There's no doubt about that. Filippo, quiet in the last quarter on a bit. Pesh, quick hands. Sheldrick, Walker goes towards goal, and he's offline. And I guess the thing about Jack's position and Port's position at the moment with the Eagles is if they can get the next goal, then all of a sudden the pressure shifts back to the Eagles, doesn't it? And then maybe, just maybe, they can get a crack in their armour.
What a game this fellow's played too.
Waitland. Half back towards centre wing. Neiman set himself. Had a spell through the third quarter, so he should be freshened. Hugs the boundary line and Hannum pulls in. Well, I reckon at the moment that the Eagles are under pressure anyway.
But this is where the Eagles are at their best, by the way. They'll just slow it down, bottle it up, play the boundary and make sure that Port don't get a run on.
But that pressure of knowing that Port Adelaide are right on their tails at the moment is forcing a few errors. Ginever. Respectable game to say the least. Turns it over. Here's Walker. Fiacci let him run off. Umpire didn't see a free kick in that. They'll let it go in the last quarter. Walker looks to emerge from it. Couldn't take it away, and if he had, I can tell you, he was off.
Just great grand final courage, isn't he? Just knew Spalding was coming straight at him. Walker didn't deviate. He just kept going straight at it.
Every player will take a risk with his body now. This is, as we said before the start of the game, death or glory. Both clubs looking for a break. The crowd are in an absolute frenzy. 61 plays 55. Can Port Adelaide, 3 hard finals. The Eagles top. 1 tough game only in the last month. Half forward, up they go. Chance for Filippo. Loose ball. Northeast, solid in defence. The Magpies get the knock. Camperelli caught by Williams. Chalmers goes back to Ginever. Tapped by Rowan Smith. Brilliantly to Stephen Williams. A chance for Darren Smith. He fumbles. Under the pack, the Eagles, holding the ball's the call.
And Darren Smith asked the question, and he's probably fair enough. He said he dived on top of the ball, he pulled it in under him, and I've got him. Why isn't that a free kick? Fair question.
Fair call.
Darren Smith locks arms. Ginever comes charging through. Magnificent game from Timmy. 14 and 4 at the moment. Malakellis, he can lift aside. 55 metres out. Here's a chance for Hodges. Can he take it again? He has! Thank you very much.
It's almost as if the crowd has injected him with adrenaline and pumped him up, Scotty Hodges, because something's happened. There's been a metamorphosis. Spehr has jumped over the top of him, outran him, outbumped him and outbustled him. Scotty Hodges a moment or two ago led out and beat Spehr to the ball, and now with sheer strength takes front position and holds the mark.
Interchange for the Eagles. Morphett on. Filippo off. Scott Hodges is a champion. McGarry medalist. Dual Ken Farmer medalist. And I talked about one of his most important kicks ever a moment ago. He has too. This is the most important kick, and he's got it. Port Adelaide are back. The scores are tied away in the grand final. 5.5 minutes in. What a beauty.
Scotty Hodges with 3 goals too. Look at the mark. Now, while this was all going on, Sam Filippo was taken from the field by Bruce Winter. Now, I suspect that's the reason is that he dropped the mark at centre half forward at the other end. Port Adelaide raced the ball down and Scotty Hodges kicks a goal. Now the pressure has shifted. It's all on the Eagles. Port have got nothing to lose and they're steamrolling home.
Bruce Winter, 3's on to win the flag. The Maggies 25 to 10, 5 minutes in. She's all square. Bookmaker's nightmare. Ginever through the pack. Williams goes to ground. Sheldrick's there. Chapman's caught. Rowan Williams. Smith. That's his name. Hodges. He's got it. He's put it down. No free kick. Play on's the call. Oh, Scotty.
All right, Rock. We'll just give you a little...
Took his eyes off the footy.
We'll just give you a Valium, Rock.
Oh, it's a mark. He'd just eat those normally.
Well, you can see what it's doing up here in the commentary box and what's it doing to the crowd and the players.
Smith, chance! Who's got it? Pepper, is it? Hodges, McLeod! Goal, the Maggies! The lead, he's first.
Well, McLeod kicked it off the ground. Pedler set it up, though, by pushing it forward. And we talk about team dance. D. Smith, Hodges was touched. McLeod said the umpire was flicked forward, and McLeod just got a boot to it. Pedler celebrates, and the Port Adelaide machine marches on. This is a dangerous time for the Eagles. They need to get a couple of quick goals, and how.
7 minutes in, and the Magpies, for the first time in the day, put their noses in front. I can tell you one thing, commentators are from time to time prone to exaggerate, but this is one of the best games you could ever possibly see. It's been the most courageous, gallant Port Adelaide of all time, and that man, Bruce Winter, is a very, very worried man. He has 3 premierships under his belt, 1 daytime and 2 nighttime, and at the moment, the 4th in a row is looking to be stolen from beneath his very eyes. Well done by Fiarchi. Snared it, just played the zone defence, sat back and did it well. Ginever, get it over the top, son. He does. Borlays has the runner on the inside. It's Wakeland. Good-looking drop punt. Where's Hodges? He is the danger man at the moment. He's got it. Right on cue. Scotty's come into the game and he's burst it open.
Ominous signs for the Eagles. Hodges, with sheer strength, just elbowed Spehr out of the contest. Stood his ground and took a chest mark. He has 3 goals, 2 already. And 4 goals, and it's going to be very difficult. The Eagles will really be tested now in terms of their character. And if they can come back and win from here, they will be one of the great all-time Eagle sides. Port Adelaide have the upper hand at the moment. They've fought back from nowhere.
Neville Roberts questioned the Port Adelaide legs at 3/4 time. They look okay at the moment. This man was always going to be the trump card. Beautiful kick. Split the middle, bullseye, straight through. He gets his 4th. 9 minutes into this, the last quarter, and Port Adelaide are starting to wheel away.
And there's a couple of things that happened. David Neiman's tiring in ruck, and in the first half, he was getting back quickly. The other thing is the ball hasn't come in 70 metres like that in one kick all day. Wakeland gathers it in at centre-half back, runs through the centre, and blasts it in long. And a one-on-one contest, you'd always back Scott Hodges, or generally you would, and the champion is emerging as a match winner.
4 goals in 9 minutes. They've stolen the lead by 12 points, having trailed by 12 at 3/4 time. Don't you admire them? They just keep on trying. Williams, Hodges, a chance. Loose ball, Hodges! Pedler to ground. Freeborn off the ground. The Eagles breathe a sigh of relief, and they must turn this into an attack now because they are under shocking pressure, the Eagles.
Maybe that's what the Eagles need, is just a little respite like this, where Freeborn gathers the ball, pushes it across the line, and they regroup.
There's still 20 minutes of the 94 grand final left. It would be very premature to write off this classy outfit called the Eagles. Pedler around the body. Spehr sits in front spot. Really needed to take it, Jason. It's given Hodges, who's got a head of steam up. A bit of a chance around the body. Beautifully taken by young Andy McLeod right on the line. He has 1 and a chance to make it 2.
And he's inducted into the Australian Football Talent Camp next week in Wantirna, the Kings Camp for 50 aspiring AFL footballers. Scott Camporelli's been invited as well as 7 other South Australian youngsters. And it's a prelude to being drafted, and this fellow has set the competition alive this year with his pace.
Yes, he has exhilarating pace. Just keep your head down, Andy. He's looking into what sunshine there is. I think he's having a quiet prayer.
I think so.
Into the sun. Little breeze from left to right. Port Adelaide fans rejoice. They go a little further ahead. They eke it out now to 19 points the difference.
And look at the work by Scotty Hodges. He flicks it out to himself, gathers it desperately on the left boot, creates something out of nothing. Now, the kick itself wasn't significant, but it just gave McLeod an opportunity to mark. And it's those little 1%ers that win the big matches. And Scotty Hodges is performing when it counts, and the umpires have had to call for a fresh ball. Somebody, I'd suggest a Port Adelaide fan, has scalped it, and they've put it right in the pocket.
It's a 5-goal roll to the Maggies. An incredible turnaround, and we said if they could get close enough, the pressure would shift back to the Eagles. Maybe they'd find a fracture there. Well, they have at the moment. Can the Eagles come back? 61 plays 80. The Magpies out of centre again. Oh, tough as you like. Down goes Hannum. Ginever, hasn't he lifted? Freeborn's got a run at the footy. Right behind him, Hutton. Tries to shift him. Can't. Pay's caught. And out of bounds, Neiman. So Port Adelaide have found the legs just simply with adrenaline. They know they're a chance now.
Free kick down there was deliberate. Schwartz ran the ball out of play, and the umpire said it was deliberate and gave Port Adelaide a free kick.
Williams, Hodges, a chance. Malakalis, he can get through. He's got a chance around his body. 6 goals the Magpies. Malakalis first. I think they've got it, the Maggies.
And you've got to say that John Cahill may well pull off a miracle win here. They weren't fancy. They were the dead-set underdogs, and that's the way he likes it. They had a hard road through the finals. The Eagles had one big win in the second semi-final. But Port Adelaide are coming home, and they are match-hardened. Malakalis loves it. Ron Barassi said he wasn't good enough to be at Sydney. John Cahill says he's good enough to be at Port Adelaide.
12-14 to 9-7. Neiman. One last effort from the Eagles, you suspect at the moment. Right in the centre square. It looks like Delaney's come up and he's in that centre square. And another bounce down. Well, we're not used to this from the Eagles. Today's attendance, 40,598. So it's a big crowd enjoying one of the best games of football you'd wish to see. From the pack situation, forward it goes. Sitting in that front spot, the umpire called play on. Delaney got it from Carter up towards half forward. Hutton sets himself and spoiled away. Well done by Spalding. To McLeod. That exhilarating pace now is on display. Kept feet and did it very well. Kennedy dispatched him. Just keeps it in play. Now pays. Springs free. Comes towards Hutton. They just keep plundering the goals at the moment up towards the full forward line, and Hodges swooping in now as Malakalis keeps it in play. Just. Still kept in play. And finally Spehr looks for that sanctuary of the line.
Look at John Cahill. The bespectacled John Cahill. He's about to approach Foster Williams' record of 8 premierships with Port Adelaide if the Magpies get up today.
Hope his cardiovascular system's strong because he'll be tested today. The Maggies are into attack again. They've absolutely dominated this quarter. Spehr now. He's caught. Tackle. Scotty Hodges. Desperation. Pedler into the open goal. He's offline.
The kick will come back, Rob. The kick will come back to Scott Hodges. He won it himself.
It was a great chase, wasn't it? What did you think of that, Michael Aish? Well, we would ask him, except he's not rigged up. So Scott Hodges is going to have a shot from about 35 metres out.
Well, you could ask no more of Scotty Hodges, could you? Perhaps his first half was very flat. I didn't think he attacked the ball particularly well, but he certainly attacked the man with the ball. Michael Aish, it was one of the great moments in grand final football.
Oh, it is, and the work of Scott Hodges, particularly in this last quarter, every ball that's come down there, he's given a contest, and that's all you ask, and he's set up 3 or 4 goals for Port Adelaide.
Hodges. From 40 metres. Oh, it's a run in the park for Scotty. A goal. 13-14, 92. They've run away from the Eagles, 9-7, 61.
What a nightmare for Jason Spehr. The second semi-final, he kept Scotty Hodges to only 4 kicks, and he kicked 1 goal, 1 in that second semi-final. And up until half-time, he only had 1 goal and 2 kicks, and you've got to say that it's a whitewash again for Jason Spehr.
Chalmers plays it on, 15 and a half minutes into the last quarter. If the Eagles are going to get out of this, it will take something very special. Jason Ziller can't break free. The reason it'll be special is because Port Adelaide, with their head of steam up, just won't let go of it. It's like a Doberman with a lizard. He just won't let go. Well done now by Spalding. Picks it up, decides to play on, but Ziller's got him. Kennedy, well wrapped up. Probably could have gone for holding the ball himself, but we'll have a bounce down on centre wing. Now, we're not used to seeing the Eagles, David, in this sort of position to see how they respond. It's a real test.
You're dead right. We've only seen it 4 times this year, and that was against bottom sides, really, or once against Port Adelaide late in the year, but they weren't at their best then, the Eagles. They're clearly up today.
Hodges knocks it forward. It's a loose ball at half forward. Camporelli's caught. Rowan Smith dodges and weaves. Nowhere to go. He's got Hodges wide. Scotty risked the body. A chance for McLeod. Through comes Kennedy. The Eagles, they need to steady and get something forward. In all sorts of strides. Stephen Ziller in 15 minutes. A 43-point turnaround by the Magpies. You won't see any better than that. Borlase loses it. Delaney and Fiarchi mop up behind the pack. One of their best, Fiarchi, has been absolutely superb. He finds Carter. 16 and 2, Fiarchi. 16 and 3. Delaney through the centre. Chip short. Beautifully spoiled. Loose ball. Chance for Pedler. Rodgers has got him. He goes backwards to Carter to go forward. They're over half forward again. They've been there all quarter. And beautifully done in front of the pack was Hannah.
31 points to difference. It's going to take 5 goals and a bit more than that from the Eagles to get back into this. And we're 17 and a half minutes in, so it's really going to take something. Spalding's got it on centre wing to give Port Adelaide another chance. He'll pump it back in there. Centre of the ground. And Delaney plays it on under all sorts of pressure. Long way down for Brett Chalmers. Controls it long enough only to give it back to Camporelli. Still has dibs on it. Gets it out now towards Malakelis. From 50 metres out, he could just about nail this. Not quite. Well done by Spehr. And it dribbles across the line. So Port Adelaide incessant at that goal front. It's really fingernail stuff at the moment. 13-15 to 9-7.
Rather be John Cahill than Bruce Winter.
Yes, at 18 minutes into the final quarter, he led by 22, 22 and 12 in the first 3 quarters. And they've been able to get a price about themselves, Port Adelaide. No one expected this, I'm sure, other than themselves, maybe. Northeast and Spalding on the far side of the ground. We're just wondering whether Port Adelaide could hang on, whether they could stay in the game. They've taken a 31-point lead in the space of 15 minutes. Malakelis doing what he likes. Rowan Smith pushes the ball up over half forward. McLeod back of the pack was Pedler. Ginever has worked so hard this quarter. Rodgers and Pesh combine. The little fella runs through the centre over half forward. A chance now as Tyler gives the free kick away for holding on to Scotty Morphett. And it looked okay as I watched it coming in. Kick was there, in my opinion. He'll kick from 50. He won't have more important shots at goal unless he went off after the first quarter when he kicked 3. In he comes. And he's a little wide. One they desperately needed.
Well, they haven't scored. That's it. In fact, I think that's their first score this term. 19 minutes into the final term of a grand finals, final quarter, and you get your first score. You can't win.
A remarkable effort from Port Adelaide. Short, Delaney to Fiarchi, the old firm back together. Fiarchi plays it on around the body towards centre wing, and Spalding has been wonderful in the centre. Plays it on. He's flanked on the Port side by Malakelis, who's lifted the work rate when he needed to. Now Darren Smith. Darren Smith gets it down there quickly. Instead, it's short, and it's going to go to McLeod, who takes a little one-hander. Such is the confidence.
Haven't they lifted? On every position on the field, they've grown about 2 feet, Port Adelaide.
It's been a great half of football by McLeod. He fancies himself from here. The breeze is coming directly over the back. So if he launches himself at it, he'll certainly give himself every chance to add another one and make it 3.
He has the penetration in his kick. He's a delightful kick. Accuracy will be the target.
Has a look, runs on line, just from the instep. So it slides off and through for one behind. 13-16 to 9-8. And we're about 5 minutes from time on.
2 goals, 3 from a rookie in a grand final who started on the interchange bench. It's a fair statistic.
Port Adelaide with a 32-point break. Kennedy first to it. Uses his pace against Chalmers and does it well. The left footer. Camporelli. And Taylor on the end of it. Delaney's there as well the wrong way. Such a great catch. Was Wakeland.
Wakeland's terrific in the air today. He's beaten, first of all, Philippo, then he's beaten Sheldrick. It's been a fine performance by him.
Close to the boundary line, and Kennedy and Northeast see it over the line.
When you consider, Neville, that Philippo's been pretty much the trump centre-half forward in the competition this year. Sheldrick came on at centre-half forward in the second semi-final and got 30 possessions in the 15 possessions, I'm sorry, in the second half, and did very well. And Wakeland's shut them both down.
It's been a great effort by Wakeland.
Little throw from Camporelli. Rowan Smith's got it now at half forward. is lifted as Port Adelaide have moved along. Rowan Smith, 16 kicks for him this afternoon. Into the forward pocket, another free kick. So when the ball's rolling for you, it's certainly rolling. They just couldn't get first access to the football earlier in the day. They were hustled and bustled off the ball. But this man on screen can tell you when the report cards are given out, he's going to get a distinction. Back into the side today. He's kicked a couple and he's worked so very hard. Right up towards Hodges, who leaps at it. Spectacular effort with one hand. And speaking about report cards with distinctions, here's Ginever. One of the best games I've ever seen from him. The little rover, 18 and 5, gets his second goal. And he kept Port Adelaide in the game. Now he's probably stitched it up.
No coincidence. You talk about Port Adelaide. Mid-year when they had their slump, he had an ankle injury about round 11 against South Adelaide. He was out of action in terms of intensity for a few weeks. That is a great goal. He says we're number one. And he is a terrific leader, an inspirational leader.
Back in the centre, he's certainly number one in a lot of ways, Timmy Ginever. 9-8, 14-16. The Magpies, what a fine finish for them today. Ginever takes another catch.
But it was Scott Spaulding who got it out of the centre. Spaulding, who failed as a half-forward flanker. John Cahill shifted him back to a half-back flank where he excelled. And in the last 2 weeks, he's brought him forward as a ruck rover and now as a centreman. And he has dominated.
Ginever kicked this far. I don't think I'd back him in. One-on-one in the square. Chance now for Hodges. Rogers is there. Bourlaise as well. Spehr knocks it out over the line. And the umpire comes in and says, not deliberate. Just throw it in. Bourlaise and Schwarz. Got plenty to say.
Bourlaise will be saying, have a look at the scoreboard.
It's very difficult to argue with that at this stage of the game. 23 minutes in. With a 38-point lead. Rogers goes to ground. Williams has got him. And it might just be Stephen Williams' final game. And wouldn't it be a big way for them to go? There's the Magpie camp. That's the reserves team. You beauty. I'm sure there's about 20,000 people here saying just the same thing. It's been in their forward line the entire final quarter.
Fair to say the Eagles outfit have been the best side of the year. But it's also true to say that Port Adelaide have been the best club this decade. And they've proven why they're so formidable. They just come at you, even from impossible positions. 22 points down at half-time, and they'll get up and win by plenty.
And to put it in perspective, they were out of the 5 and looked to be out of action mid-season. They won 10 in a row, en route to a finals berth in second position, second only to this Eagles side. The Eagles have been their nemesis, but this is their best quarter of football, I reckon, if not the third of this one very game. Well done by Delaney. To Carter, Rowan Smith, it's all happening. The machine's purring like a V12 Jag. Around goes Ginever and he's got a free kick, so Hodges will take it 20 metres out.
Well, it didn't matter. Scotty Hodges had the leap and the mark. He's jumping around like Superman. Ginever kicks the ball and is crashed into by Freeborn. The ball comes up, but look at Scotty Hodges. He takes this ball, bang, 2.5 feet in the air, late in a final quarter of a grand final. Plenty of adrenaline.
Plenty of pushing and shoving. We weren't sure whether the ball would come back to Ginever, but it's been relayed to Hodges.
Scotty Hodges has taken this game by storm. Has 5, 4 of which he's got in the last quarter. Make that 5 in the last quarter. Match-winning performance, 15-16 to 9-8. One of the most remarkable performances in league football history, I dare say.
Well, make it 5 goals straight in the last quarter for a tally of 6 goals too. The dual Ken Farmer medalist, 36 games with the Crows. He found an unhappy home. He goes back to Port Adelaide, and is he happy there? Under John Cahill, it's been a formidable combination.
Goal kickers for the Eagles, Morphett and Taylor leading. For Port Adelaide, Hodges 6, Ginever 2, Williams 2. It's all over though. We're into time on. And the Magpies, under Jack Cahill, will get their 9th premiership. It's the 11th one he's been in. Down goes the ball, up they go. Nickel. Ginever fights hard, and they've grown another arm, another leg, another head, Port Adelaide.
You think about who they've lost. Troy Bond, who's played 21 games with Carlton. Shea Cockatoo-Collins, 16 games with Essendon. Shane Wakeland, 15 games with St Kilda. Shane Bond, 21 games with West Coast, and still they can perform like this.
Chalmers now just decides to go in long. Nickel owns this ball at the moment. Nobody went with him. And it's the first time there's been a contest where there hasn't been a black and white jumper there, or even 2 of them. The kick's a shocker. Beautifully stolen through the centre of the ground by Schwarz. This is Chapman. The kick out is good, and it'll find Morphett on a lead.
Too little too late, I'm afraid.
wonder about the importance of round 25, you know, when Port Adelaide got over the Eagles, and the Eagles, well, in a lot of quarters it was spoken about, they took it a little lightly. That just gave the Maggies the confidence, I reckon.
Yes, it might have sparked them because it seemed just a little arrogant, didn't it? Morphett, the kick is good. Kicks his fourth.
Been a leading light up forward. In fact, along with Andrew Taylor, the only multiple goal scorers. Nicol has one. He kicked 5 in the second semi. Greg Walker has one. But the Zilla boys, one to Stephen Zilla and one poster to Jason Zilla. They haven't really got amongst the goals up forward. Filippo has struggled. Their whole forward line in the second half hasn't worked at all.
106 plays 68, 27 and a half minutes into the last quarter. What a wonderful day out. Make the most of it as well, because there's bound to be some politics in football in South Australia over the next month or 6 weeks. These two sides are front runners themselves for the... I wonder if this will do Port Adelaide's chances any harm. Incidentally, from half-back it was Hannam. He found Taylor, plays it on and goes short. Now Fiarchi's there, so too is Tyler. He's made the transition wonderfully well from full forward to the back pocket, and he's got a free kick.
Cut it out, don't give it away now.
You can just hear through our microphones on boundary side. The Port Adelaide troops on the boundary are saying, don't give it away now. That's an error, I think, from you, Mark Tyler. Delaney will push it through, put himself under a bit of pressure, and found the line. So 28 minutes in, Jack Cahill looks a little happier than he did perhaps an hour and a half ago.
Why wouldn't you be? 28 and a half minutes into the final term, you know your side can't be beaten. And now they're making the Eagles pay for the arrogance that the Eagles have inflicted upon them this year. They're really enjoying this, the Magpies.
Inevitably heading for their 32nd premiership. The Magpies from 57 appearances. 11 of them appearances, that is, with Jack for 9 wins. And still not cracking it for a smile. But that's the sort of intensity that I guess he's used to get them up for this game, that he used at three-quarter time when, without the leagues and 12 points down, nobody would have backed them. Nicol in ruck. Borlays or Chalmers there as well. Forward they go again. McLeod first to it. Smith over the top to nobody but Freeborn, and the Eagles are out of strife.
Freeborn's kick looking for Shelwick, spoiled away by Wakeland, who's been, if not a surprise packet, certainly something very special from centre half back. Nicol can't do much with it. Still they're throwing themselves in there, which is great credit to both sides.
Foster Williams has won 9 flags from 21 attempts with Port Adelaide. John Cahill will win his 9th flag from 16 attempts. It's a pretty good record.
Yes, it's a big effort, there's no doubt about that.
And his 500th game of coaching today, Johnny Cahill, so it's a big celebration for him.
Well, he said, David, didn't he, that if we win this grand final, this is word for word, if we win this grand final, it would be one of the best ever. And so you can imagine the sort of celebration in game 500 for him that he's going to have tonight. He loves celebrating the best of times, does Jack. Northeast has got it. Big chant goes up around the ground as Pedler sees it across the line on the far side.
And he's won 3 in a row in 79, 80 and 81, and 88, 89 and 90. I just look around this Port Adelaide side and think perhaps they're not going to lose too many for next year. They might be out of the game with the Eagles next year.
9-goal quarter for the Magpies, and the Eagles just counting the seconds down. I'm sure there's some Magpie supporters doing that. We're 30 minutes into this, the 1994 grand final.
Neville, a lot of talk during the week about the fact that the Eagles had one player of such youth that it was going to be a problem for them, but the Port Adelaide side had 5 or 6.
Let's have a look at them. Scotty Hodges, 26 years. Darren Smith, 29. Stevie Williams, 33. Hutton, 29. Fiarchi, 30. Ginever, 28. Rowan Smith, 28. Delaney, 28. Northeast, 24. They've all performed.
Scotty Hodges has performed too. There he is, contemplating his day, his game, and his premiership, and Jack Cahill and Port Adelaide's premiership. Congratulations, boys. What a super day. What a great day for the Port Adelaide Football Club. 10-9-69. Port Adelaide 15-16. 106. A margin of 37 points. Hopefully Michael Aish has got John Cahill on the boundary line. He has got him. His runaways under a lot of pressure, Jack. He's celebrating. There they are, a jubilant, ecstatic Port Adelaide underdogs and victors.
David, one of the best turnarounds, one of the most courageous turnarounds I think I've seen in league football.
Well, you've got to say that at half-time it was unlikely that Port Adelaide would get up. They trailed by 22 points. They trailed by 22 points at quarter time. The Eagles were floating along pretty well. The rain came. It was always going to be difficult to get back from that position with a wet, slippery ball. But the sun came out almost as if it was ordained. The ground dried up and Port Adelaide came home.
That was the admirable thing, wasn't it? It was wet and it was tough. The Eagles got away to a start. When it kept raining, you had the feeling that with the conditions the way they were, they just couldn't pull it back.
Bruce Winter has 3 out of 4 grand finals. He's won last year's day final, the 2 night finals last year and this year, and this is the first grand final he's won. And for John Cahill, this is a sweet victory.
We're hoping that Michael Aish can actually get John Cahill. He's being absolutely swept off his feet. Imagine the emotion of this game for them. They were written off about 10. Have a look at them 10 weeks ago. You've got to win one to know what they're like, and John Cahill's won enough of them. 9 today. We're doing our best to try and get him for you. Michael Aish is in there. It's not often Michael Aish is in a Port Adelaide camp like that. He might not come out of it.
Andrew McLeod, 17 years of age, down from Northern Territory, works for Telecom. He's boarding down here and looks to be a target for the Fremantle Dockers. What a celebration of youth.
Well, I can tell you that Jack Cahill will speak to us in just a moment. He was keen to celebrate, he said to Michael Aish before the game, keen to celebrate had they won with his players. Such was the significance of the occasion. Game number 500, as we said through that last term. One of the sweetest victories of all time for his ninth premiership.
Righto.
Michael Aish joins John Cahill.
John Cahill, I know every grand final is a sweet win, but after half-time, the character shown by the Port Adelaide Football Club, in particular the players, was sensational.
Well, it was great, Michael. I mean, I think it was 6 goals to nothing. It was somewhere around there. I can't remember. But I just thought if we could hang in, when they were 6 goals, and I don't think we'd scored at that stage, it was a problem. But tremendous courage. I mean, to look back now, the article of Ashley Porter, to write that we shouldn't be in the 5, the most disgraceful article I've ever read in my life, and every player kept that article and just strove to win. And I know I'm emotional, but forgetting all that, 77 was great. But today, against all odds and the courage that the players showed, was tremendous, Michael.
Some of your veterans in particular, Delaney and Fiarchi across the half-back line were fantastic.
Yeah, well, Michael, old, slow, you know, we're all of this, but from being dead and buried halfway through the year and then just to believe in ourselves and come back, it's superb. And for a coach, all I'll do now is hide in the background and watch everyone enjoy it because they deserve it.
One more question. The young player, Wakeland, a fantastic job at centre-half-back against Philippi.
Well, he was given a rocket by the Eagles before, and I said to him, it's a chance to prove yourself. He got beaten in the second semi, but he came back today and was tremendous, Michael.
All the best, Jack.
Players anyway.
Well done.
They pulled off the impossible. There'll be some tears in that group, and well-deserved praise and glory.
Darryl Wakeland. And to present the medal, here's Mary Oatey. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the South Australian National Football League, Mr Max Bashir, will now present the Premiership medallions to the winning team as the players are called up to the dais. Number 2, Simon Pedler. Number 4, George Fiarchi. Number 7, Roger the Dodger Delaney. Brett Chalmers, number 8. Scotty Spaulding, number 9. And what about this man? Stephen Williams, number 10. And this man, Scott Hodges, number 11. Number 13, Rowan Smith.
You bloody beauty!
Andrew McLeod, number 14. Darryl Wakeland, number 15. Daisy Warlays, number 16. Tony Malakellis, number 22. Mark Tylor, number 24. Troy Olsen, number 25. David Hutton, number 27. Darren Smith, number 28. After spending so much time in the reserves, he's bounced back. Paul Northeast, number 32. Darren Mead, number 33. And Stephen Carter, number 36. And your captain, Tim Ginever. And your coach, Jack Cahill. Come on, Jack. 9 times he's been up here before. And what about a couple of words from Jack and also Tim?
Settle it down, lads, settle it down. Pretty keen, aren't they? Towier than a Roman sandal, this mob. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate the Eagles. They've been the best team all year, really. They've had an excellent couple of years, and we respect them as a club. Well done, fellas. And now I'd like to thank our boys for a magnificent effort today. And it all comes from you people, our support staff, the ladies that help us, everybody at the club. It's the greatest victory ever.
And before we hear from Jack Cahill, the President of the South Australian National Football League, Mr Max Bashir, to present the Thomas Seymour Hill Trophy.
Right, thanks, Mr President. First of all, to Bruce and the Eagles. You know, we're sorry about today. There has to be a winner and a loser. And I'd just like to congratulate their guys of the year. And to our guys here, I mean, I've never seen a more courageous effort, and it was tremendous. And to all you loyal supporters during the year, thanks very much. Thank you.
And now for the trophy presentation. The 1994 Premiers, Port Adelaide. And we'd now like the coach and the captain to lead the team around the arena here and celebrate, as I'm sure you will, for many weeks to come. The 1994 Premiers, the Mighty Magpies.
Well, there they are, Michael, and Scotty Hodges. Well, he's got every right to hold that cup up high. He was an instigator after having a very poor final series, and his performance in the final quarter was a match-winning one.
Well, it was, Neville, and when you really look at the way he contested every ball that came down his way, and as I said in the last quarter there, he really made every effort, handed out 2 or 3 goals, and was a real instigator in that final surge.
Now, I know that you've played for Nord and their opponents at Port Adelaide, but you've just got to admire them, don't you? Their obsession and their courage to win this game from ridiculous odds was just an admirable day for them and the club.
Well, the respect that Port Adelaide really deserves was shown today, that they were underdogs and they just came out and played football like football should be played, and a true credit to the club, John Cahill and everyone.
And Darren Smith there sharing in a very important moment with his child, and a lot of the players got their children on the ground. The spectators, I guess they went in there at 25-10 against, they were 3s on the Eagles, and from that, I guess that's just where all this elation and all this energy is coming from. They probably in themselves thought they'd be very fortunate to get this one.
Well, I think so, Neville, but they just believed in themselves, and if any club does that, believe in themselves, as we saw after half-time, anything can happen, and to Port Adelaide's credit, everyone believed in themselves, and they went out and turned a deficit of something like 30 points at quarter time to a winning margin of 30-odd points.
And there's the Thomas Seymour Hill Trophy, which is what everybody strives for. It's well and truly embedded for the 32nd time in the Port Adelaide club, and they thoroughly deserve it. They're an absolute credit to themselves, their players and their coach. So the lap of honour, Michael, is a special moment, isn't it? It's almost savour the moment. It's something in your life that you just don't do very often, but they are certainly savouring the moment.
Well,
most clubs don't do it very often. Port Adelaide seem to do it all the time, and you do savour every moment. You look back on it, they've had a good year. They were struggling mid-season. Now they've come up and won about 10 out of 12. So you really do look back, and after this game, the players will look back and really savour every moment of it.
Well, there's George Fiarchi's child with him, and players enjoying that sort of emotion. Stephen Trigg, I've got to say to you that Michael asked Jack about the older players. It was, in my opinion, the Malak Ellis, Ginever, Williams, Rowan Smith for his part, Darren Smith. Those players really did take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and showed the way with great courage.
There's no doubt about that. The senior players always take the lead role, but I don't think that Port Adelaide could have done it at all without their younger players in players like McLeod and Wakeman, who was the Jack Cahill medalist. Players like Spalding in the centres, also a young player. They had good players in Olsen who went on and off the ground with Pedler. So, yeah, I think the lead was taken by the seniors, but certainly they couldn't have done it without the explosive input of some of those youngsters.
And David, I suppose you've got to spare a thought. I know that you're a sympathiser with the Eagles, but overall they've had a sensational year, and you've got to spare a thought for them. This would be quite shattering to them. They're odds on to win this.
Well, I think this is the coming of age of the Eagles. You've got to swallow the ignominy of a defeat like this to really grow up. They've had everything going their way. They've won their first night final, then they've won a grand final, they've won this year's night final. Bruce Winter, before today, had won 3 out of 3, and everything was going their way. I think from this experience they'll grow, and they'll be better for next year.
And Mark, we said on the hostings through the show that it was quite exhausting watching the pressure that Port Adelaide were under. I said at three-quarter time I didn't think they had it in them, but I mean, you've got to, I suppose from an observer's point of view, it's just outstanding, isn't it, that after 3 hard finals they can come out and produce the best football they've played all season.
Well, Neville, that's one of the most extraordinary grand finals I've ever seen, and one of the most incredible quarters of football. And that individual effort by Scott Hodges was just something special, wasn't it?
Yeah, Scotty's proved to everyone in South Australia that he's a big-time player. Against Central in the first semi-final, was it, when he came back and just forced himself back into the game after being controlled. He had a very difficult season. He's kicked over 100 goals. He's certainly important to them. But then, I suppose, Stephen, if you look at McLeod, who comes onto the ground off the bench in his first season, and he was just spectacular.
Yes, don't underestimate that, because whilst Hodges and Pedler were doing okay right up the front, when the ball came to ground, they needed something, didn't they? McLeod gave them that little bit of extra spark. When Ginever lifted his work rate and Malak Ellis started to get into the game, Stephen Williams was quite fantastic from the first bounce. It complemented the bigs up there, and I think that it was a very important move from Jack Cahill to put McLeod onto the ground.
So right. And David, the big man clashes. Chalmers looked a little down early in the game. He actually came off the ground. We were critical. That Mead came on. He worked his heart out, and he really did make a difference. And then Chalmers came back on and absolutely took them apart in the back play particularly.
I think you're 100% right there, Rocky. But one of the keys, I think, is the fact that Neiman and Nickel weren't allowed to get into the game. Remember that it was Nickel who kicked 5 goals against Mark Tyler in the second semi-final. Neiman got a couple on him. Now, spare a thought for Mark Tyler. He missed the 92 grand final with a broken hand. He had horrible form in the second semi-final against the Eagles big men, and he tightened up his game today, such to the extent the Eagles big men, particularly up forward, had no impact at all, and Tyler, in fact, played a terrific game.
And Neville, did you take 25-10 on the Magpies?
Oh, I wish I had. I just had a gut feeling about it. I think I told you off air before we started, and retrospective, it's easy to say, but I just had a feeling if they could get close enough to the Eagles, they might show a fracture. But 42 points was the closest margin between the clubs prior to today, and they've never been close enough to force or to get the Eagles under any pressure at all. And today, a fracture opened up. They turned a 12-point disadvantage into a 6-goal win. Absolutely sensational. And Michael, at three-quarter time, Jack Cahill, I don't know what he would have said. I guess all he could have asked them for was their hearts and souls, bodies and minds for 30 minutes.
Well, he would have done that, Neville, and I'm sure that he thought in that third quarter that the Eagles didn't have anything across half forward. They just couldn't get the ball through. And so he just renowned on that, and the players just bounced back. And 2 players in particular, Spalding and Malak Ellis, a couple of their gun recruits this year, were a live wire for them.
And it's absolute pandemonium in the Port Adelaide camp, and why shouldn't it be? Have a look at them.
Got the kids there and everything. And the wives in a minute.
Well, I guess you can relax the disciplines now. They're in for an enormous celebration, and as Jack Cahill said, probably their best celebration in the history of club. Their 32nd premiership since 1897, Stephen.
Yes, indeed, and a big day out for them. They won the under-17s premiership. Unfortunately for the Maggies, they lost the reserves today to West Adelaide, but they'll have a dual celebration, if you like, with the under-17s, and at the top of the tree, the league side taking home the premiership for the 32nd time.
And David Mackay, you look at the players that leave clubs, everyone complains about them going to the AFL. Port Adelaide, they lose as many as anybody, but they just keep coming back with kids that are good enough.
It's not just the players they lose, Neville. If you look at perhaps last year and the people they lost, they go on to be great players at other clubs. Troy Bond played 21 games this year for Carlton. Shea Cockatoo-Collins, 16 games with Essendon. Shane Wakeland, 15 games with St Kilda. Shane Bond, 21 games with West Coast. Brett Chalmers played 12 games this year with the Adelaide Crows. And don't forget that they've also lost Braden Lyle to the West Coast Eagles, Greg Phillips, who's retired, and Damien Sheehan to Carlton.
So we'll just cover the quarter by quarters again. There was a 22-point margin at quarter time. The same at half time, they maintained that. It went back to 12 points in a fantastic third quarter to Magpies. We thought they were gone then, but have a look at that. They belted on 9 goals in the final quarter. The Eagles who managed just 1.
Well, you wouldn't have thought they would have got back at all from there. Looking at the goal scorers, well, Morphett started well, kicking 3 in the first term, ended up with 4, spent a bit of time on the bench. Taylor 2, Pest, Zillow, Nicol 1, but Hodges, the mainstay for Port Adelaide, brilliant in that last term. 6 goals. Ginever, Williams, McLeod, Melakillis, all their on-ballers doing very well.
And the stats, Michael, well, in the end, Port Adelaide just ran all over them with kicks, didn't they? They got another 33, 43 kicks and a superior in the air. But the Eagles, incidentally, another 30-odd handballs. So they controlled the footy early and got a lot more handballs out.
Well, they did, but Port just wore them down continually and just came out in front.
Well, thanks, Michael, and thanks, David Mackay and Stephen Treek, Mark Aston for their efforts today. And we'd like to thank all of you for your support throughout the year, through our football show, our live replays. And before we leave you, we'd just like to congratulate the Port Adelaide Football Club on one of the most exciting and the most dedicated wins that you'd ever hope to see in league football. It's been our pleasure bringing to you this telecast from Football Park for the 1994 Premiership game.